I'll send the link out and we'll be ready to go. All right, so welcome to our post-Kingdom stream of Children of Primus, Frenzy Freestyle Sundays. And
Yes.
I'm sure we're going to be discussing all the spoilers, so you need to have watched the show to have watched this, or else you don't care about watching the show and are okay with us spoiling everything that happens.
Yes. So if you're worried about spoilers and you haven't watched it yet, then quickly go watch it and then come back.
Yeah. If this is on YouTube or this is post,
Yep.
You give it a pause, come back. We'll wait.
Yes.
But for the rest of us, personally, I binged it like the evening of the day it came out, just because I wanted to see what happened next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I tried to watch it the same evening when it came out, so I got within the first episode, but then I was just tied up with a few other things. But I'm like, for sure, I have to set aside a time, start from the first episode right to the end, and I did that this morning. So yeah. I think from 7 this morning, I'm like, okay, I'm up. Let me just watch all of it and get into it.
Yeah, and that's what I did that night too. And the thing I wanted to say before was, I hedged my bets. The same day I went to the comic shop and picked up issue number 6 of the excellent IDW comic. So I was like, if this ain't good, I have good fiction here with me as comfort.
Yes.
But I haven't read it yet, so but I kind of doubt they really whiffed it compared to the other 5. So
okay. And I mean, most times, the comic book always tends to have the better storyline and build up. Although I haven't collected or read comics in so many years, but I'll see different references of all the different comics out there, like Transformers, X-Men, and different ones. And I mean, just like with anything, there's the hit and miss. But story building, a lot of people are always satisfied with the comic book version of basically anything.
Yeah, well, the fact that it's a cheaper, easier medium to produce means that there's more creative freedom. So
right.
less hands and less fingers in the pie. They get to really go wild.
This is true.
Yeah. Speaking of that, the show itself, one of the writers of the excellent Cyberverse cartoon was on Kingdom and just Kingdom. So I think that sort of added to the jump in quality. And her name is May Cat, and she's been on Twitter talking about some of the things she added to it. A lot of the best lines, in my opinion, turned out to have been written by her, so that's a plus.
That makes sense. Yeah. I could see the difference between the first 2 and this one. And it's funny because watching it, I could also see a little in a sense, a lot of questions people had, they answered it within just within little scenes throughout this part of the series. But it's you have to really, pay attention to pick up on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cyberverse is an excellent show that everybody should watch if they haven't already. It's I on the balance, I think it's been better than this trilogy.
Okay.
It's 3 seasons long, and the episodes are only 11 minutes, so it's really easy to binge your way through it.
It's only 11 minutes.
Yeah, 11-minute episodes.
I'm surprised. I thought it would have been more like this kind of standard 22 minutes type of episodes.
No. So it's funny because I said about that show, I'll stop talking about it and get relevant in a minute. But I say it takes a few episodes to get going, but because they're 11-minute episodes, I'm like, you can get through the few episodes it takes to get going in 20 minutes. So
that's funny, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I attribute that to the jump in quality. So yes, I have my own opinions, but first I'm interested. What did you think of the whole thing?
My thoughts of the whole thing, overall, I actually liked it. I did enjoy it, and I found there were elements where, they were going with the Cyberverse, the multiverse kind of concept that a lot of the sci-fi is kind of working towards. Marvel's working on it, DC's working on it. So in a sense, initially I was confused in terms of how are they going to explain the Beast Wars element within G1? But I think they actually wrapped it up pretty well in terms of the time traveling aspects of it and them being from the future. So overall, I did like the concept and everything. I'd say it's more so specific characters that that I wasn't too much of a fan of, or how they portrayed those characters within this version.
Yeah, some of them were really on point, and some of them were really off. Just to talk about complete opposites of the spectrum. On the good side, I thought they nailed Black Arachnia really well, both in performance and in writing. I was like, that's just the same character straight up.
Okay.
But like I thought, yeah. And whoever was doing her voice, I forget their name. Sounds like they're doing a really good impression of the original. I even checked to make sure it was them.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Beast Wars Megatron, like not even talking about his voice acting, which I thought was like really weird and bad.
Yes.
I just didn't like how they wrote him as like a complete like sycophant for the original Megatron.
I really didn't understand that because I mean, you know, any iteration of Megatron, like he's a strong character who, you know, survives just about anything, and then you have this version of Megatron where it's like he's just a puppy to the G1 Megatron and sounds whiny and it's just more of a, you know, like come on guys, let's let's go with the plan as opposed to like I'm telling you the plan and that's what it is.
Yeah, and I it's funny because and this is like subtext because of me having watched the old show and knowing that character. I thought he was gonna betray him because that's really in character for the Beast Wars Megatron to do. Okay. And like he was putting on an act, and I kept waiting for that to happen. And then the show ended, and I was like, oh, they were just being legit.
Yeah, yeah. Like at one point, it did seem that way, and it's like, no, he almost just seemed mindless to everyone else.
Yeah. The funniest character arc for me is how they tried to handle Dinobot and they're trying really hard here, right? Mm-hmm. But they had him basically go through his like a version of his arc from the cartoon, but that had like 2 seasons worth of content behind it, whereas this had like a couple episodes,
right?
And even when he was talking, they even lifted a bunch of dialogue from Beast Wars for him. Okay. And I was like, it was sort of like how they always quote, "One shall stand, one shall fall" for Optimus and Megatron. In this case, with Dinobot, the thing was, I'm like, you're trying to force like character history here that wasn't established in this show. So like, I know what they're referencing, but it was a little flat. Like, I can't blame them too much because they only had 6 episodes to do this, but I was kind of like, you're reminding us of like a better story that had more build up.
Right.
Because he had like existential crisis about time travel and destiny and the golden disc and stuff on the old cartoon. It was just more of a slow burn, right?
So the golden disc was also a concept in the original?
Yes. And it's a little bit odd how they handle it here because the golden disc is a real thing that exists in real life. It is. There's 2 of them, and they were put on the Voyager space probes in the 80s and were sent out into space.
Okay.
And under the idea that, you know, alien intelligence might find them at some point.
Right.
And they have a map to Earth on them. That's what the weird symbols are supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And they have like a bunch of images and sounds and stuff from Earth as well. And so on the original Beast Wars cartoon, like that was their purpose of the one they had, a map to Earth, right?
Right.
And it was always really interesting because it was a real life thing that they had. And on this show, it's not that, even though I guess it's not the Voyager disc, even though it has the symbols from it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it sort of serves the same purpose in that it's a record of the future, but in this case, it's a record of the future specifically from Megatron.
Right. Which is funny because it gets it's almost a really loose freestyle record keeping where he's following he's following his examples and notes from the future, but it's like, let's go this way. Well, no, this way didn't actually work, and then I turned around, as opposed to like, well, let me just lay out all the notes properly and then record them.
Yeah. It was kind of funny too, because it's Megatron's biography on tape basically, and he's just listening to it as it goes.
Yeah. That one reference, like that blue cassette, that blue tape player and his cassettes.
Yeah. Though it did sort of it was sort of an attempt to make it serve the same function as the Beast Wars cartoon, because it was like a record of the future and it was a map to Earth, and they did go into the past in Beast Wars as well. Gosh, I think I'm going to have to add another disclaimer. Like, I'm going to have to talk about like Beast Wars spoilers on this stream too, because so much of it's like,
yeah, if that's what has to, to connect the dots.
Yeah, same role. They're like, it's a record of the future, though specifically Earth's future, and then they use that to figure things out.
Yeah, and I mean, that was the one part, because me only watching, myself only watching so much of Beast Wars when it came out years ago, where it's like that connection concept was lost to me back then, but then how they explained it within here, it's like, well, these guys are the future, and coming back to correct everything that's that happened in the past, hopefully to save the future. But then seeing the conflict between both Optimuses was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the one upshot of this. That's the one kind of like story that they couldn't do in Beast Wars, and I guess it was kind of nifty to see here. Actually getting to watch the two of them interact. It was a very different Optimus Primal, though, not in a bad way. Just the circumstances mean that he's a very different character. Because like original Optimus Primal, his whole deal was that he was like a science guy. He was just like an exploration ship, like a mid-level person instead of like a war veteran, and that informed his character. And here he's just been forced into the role of being a war veteran. But also so have all the Maximals, because they say they come from like a bad future where only the strong survived a dead Cybertron.
Right. And it's like the references of like the Ark. The Ark is like this archaic old relic of parts. Like everything's pretty much like outdated and ancient to the Maximals. But I found it interesting with Rhinox almost being more of the smarter one than Wheeljack, because I don't recall that in the original one, where Rhinox was more of like the Hound type character, which funny enough, they kind of show that reference in their fights in terms of like which character is it kind of like is their character of the future. So it was like Rhinox, Hound, Rat Trap. Between both of the Optimus, Rhinox, Hound, and who were the other two battles?
Oh gosh, I don't remember totally.
I think Cheetor and Bumblebee.
Yeah, that was great, because they're literally supposed to be the same archetype.
Yeah.
They're the yellow horned Kid Appeal character.
Yeah. But then what is the story on Rhinox in terms of him being the genius of the crew?
Oh, that was pretty accurate. He was like that on Beast Wars too. He was always the one inventing things and solving science problems and stuff.
Okay, somehow I didn't recall that. Like, I just remember him more being of the beefier machine gun type character.
Yeah, well, he was that too. He's a person of many traits. He's the science guy that cobbles inventions together, and he also has a big pair of machine guns.
Nice.
Because it was the 90s, that was cool.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I definitely I was surprised at how much I liked this whole thing, but I also concede that I might be an easy mark for it, because between the show and the comic and the Kingdom figures, I just realized that I'm a little bit of a mark for just putting the Beast Wars characters back in things. Like, I'm biased towards liking it. Yeah. But also I just thought the writing was a lot stronger, and Most of the new characters were well done, and I
Mhm.
really liked the sort of complicated time travel thing they had going on, particularly towards the ending. But I like that kind of storytelling too. It was very, very Terminator-y in a good way.
I like that, the complexities where it's just not straightforward, but you really have to sit down and pick up on all the elements of what's happening.
Yeah,
You miss one part, and it's like you're basically lost for the rest of it.
yeah, yeah. And I liked the idea of like bringing in Nemesis Prime specifically as like a bad future Optimus. That's kind of a new approach to him.
Hmm.
Sort of like Last Night, but like better. um, and I really liked the last episode. I thought it had a really strong ending, which pleasantly surprised me.
Well, I was going to ask, do you know of any rumors that there's going to be a continuation in terms of how they ended it?
Possibly. Not on the media side, but on the merchandise side, and the merchandise side begats the media side in
Mm-hmm.
Transformers. Like I said, I'm decently plugged into a set of a group that talks about rumors of what's coming up, and they've been pretty accurate in the past.
Okay.
So I tend to. It's grain of salt stuff, but it's grain of salt that's been proven true before. After Kingdom, the next line may be called Legacy, and it's going to be sort of like how they did Thrilling 30 back in the day, where they're going out of their way to have a little bit of everything on purpose, like
Okay.
G1, Beast Wars, Unicron Trilogy, just a lot of them together. And if that is the case, then it would make sense for like the stinger at the end to be about Unicron doing some like multiverse stuff because because he's
Yeah.
like using the dead universe to travel. That there might be something to that.
And I mean the fact that of them leaving that cliffhanger, I could definitely see them bringing back and intertwining the G1 and the Beast Wars in whatever future iterations they come out with.
Yeah, and like you brought up the multiverse. They said that word at one point.
Yes.
And it even the dead universe as like a potential gateway to that. Like that's happened before too. Once again, they did multiverse stuff over in Cyberverse.
Okay.
In that case, it was because they didn't call it the dead universe, but it was the same sort of thing where their trans warp messed up, so they got stuck between places.
Okay.
And they encountered a bunch of different versions of themselves, and that happened again. Here it messed up, and they got stuck in the dead universe.
Right.
They did a bit of that in Earthrise, and a bit more here with Teletran getting a look at all that stuff.
Right.
So I'm like, they might be seeding that. That might actually be where they're going, if between the legacy line, if that's true, and how this ended.
I mean that would be cool. It's just funny, again, going with say the Marvel references of them going with the multiverse. Like it expands the storyline and brings in like all sorts of concepts that you, in a sense, you would think wouldn't exist, but I mean those concepts existed in the comic books. It's just a lot of times with cartoons and movies, they only touch upon like the small elements of it, and they don't expand on the multi levels of characters, concepts, how they all connect with each other. So it would be interesting to see how they bring Unicron back in, and the fact that it's like Galvatron and Nemesis Prime are somewhat like a team who are working together.
The fact that they showed, I feel like they're hedging their bets there, because the fact that they showed them getting like broken down into Tron lines means they can bring them back in whatever iteration the story actually needs / the merchandise actually has.
And I mean the fact that they didn't make any references of Unicron attacking Cybertron yet. Like that's like that storyline still has to play out.
Yeah, and that was interesting. I kind of wish they'd gone more into that, because I found the Grim Future stuff kind of interesting, because they were like, okay, the Allspark never came back. Presumably in the original timeline, it died because it was already dying, and they were trying to save it.
Okay.
The planet went dark and snowy like we saw, and somehow generations pass and the maximals and predacons are like the generation that survives, and they have to scrape by and be tough and hardy.
Yeah.
And then somehow they say they're under threat from Unicron and Galvatron and Nemesis Prime,
Right.
but he hasn't eaten the planet. He's just some sort of threat. I wanted to know what was up with that a bit more.
Well, I mean, it's funny because in the G1 cartoon, it's almost like everyone else in the universe knew of Megatron. Sorry, everyone else in the universe knew of Unicron except for Transformers. So so it's like Arbus and Kranix, they both knew of Unicron. Everyone else knew of Unicron, but it's like in this case, Unicron is still out there hiding, kind of almost in a sense playing out how they did with I'm trying to remember his name in Marvel with the last character.
Galactus?
Not Galactus. They showed him in Loki.
Kang the Conqueror.
Yes. So essentially how, whatever everyone is doing, where they think they're changing time or saving their future or trying to, or trying to destroy a past to create a new future. Yeah. Someone is in control of all of that. So they're really not they're really not doing whatever they think they're doing. Someone else is playing those chess pieces.
Yeah, that's funny. I think I said this before. Galvatron's, even back in Earthrise, the idea of Galvatron trying to go back in time and change things in his favor is from the Marvel UK comics, because he did that, right? Mm-hmm. It's a big reference to that. And then over in that, they also brought in the idea that there was trying to go back and change things just created an alternate timeline that you weren't a part of, so you'd still go back to your own. And then they brought that up here in the last episode of Kingdom.
Right.
Where they were like, yeah, we're not actually going to change things. We just want to steal the Allspark and take it with us. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was interesting because they were already aware of that problem. And then they were like, oh, we know, we're just going to steal yours and take it to our timeline. We know we can't actually change the future.
Right. Which funny now that I'm thinking about it, there's between Galvatron repeatedly going back to try to convince Megatron that he wants that separation from Unicron. But then he's always captured by Unicron. So it only, like, they make it appear as like, well, Unicron's sending him back to change a past, but then Galvatron is also trying to go back. So it's like, at what point or how is he able to escape Unicron for those few moments multiple times? Yeah. To go back to contact Megatron.
A lot of interesting unanswered questions around that. Maybe if there's a fourth part, maybe they'll go into that. I found that interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I the other thing I found interesting was Starscream vaguely asserting that Unicron may have been an architect of the war itself, if I understood his dialogue correctly.
Right, and that's where I was going with the Kang the Conqueror reference.
Yeah. Because that's been a thing before, and I wonder if they were playing into that. I didn't like Transformers Armada, but I watched it start to finish back when it came out. Okay. And while I don't think it wasn't told well, there was some interesting ideas on that show. And that show presented Unicron using his agents to keep the war going by making sure neither side was too strong.
Interesting.
And the reason he did that was because he was feeding off of the energies from the war, of the negative emotions, and that was sustaining him.
Okay.
But in a more practical sense, he didn't want them being united against him when he finally showed up.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then in the old Transformers Universe comics from the same time period, he would pluck people out of the multiverse and bring them into his own little dimension because he wanted them to fight, and their energy also fueled him. So I think they were hinting at both of those things again.
Interesting.
The idea that would explain why he didn't eat the planet either, because he's like, I need these people around and fighting each other to keep me going.
Right. But I mean, then at that point, it's like, well, then if if the planet is dying, then does he then also put the pieces in place to help it bring it back to the golden age? Because it's almost no point going after Cybertron if basically the majority of Cybertron and the population has died.
Yeah, and I brought this up when I was talking to some other people about this, but there was something there that I thought was going to get resolved, and then it didn't. They're talking about getting the Allspark, and Rattrap says something about not needing it in the future, but then he gets cut off because they don't want to spoil too many future events. And I was like, are they implying they have a different origin? Are they going somewhere with that? And then it never came up again, and I was like, I wondered what they were going to try and say there, right?
That's true.
Yeah, obviously they had to have a different origin if they were still around and the Allspark wasn't. But
yeah, and I mean the reference when a few times it's like if we help the G1, that means eventually we might disappear if we help you guys. And they made reference of that the first time they met up, and then between the primes. Both of them also made reference of that as well, where it's like, well, I might not exist once we follow through.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that's how they treated time travel in Beast Wars. They might not have treated it like that in Marvel UK or in this, but that was very much a we will vanish if the timeline gets too altered thing, because at one point they were under threat from that, and that's what was starting to happen. Okay. So it's like the way the two shows interact with each other is maybe it's sort of referencing that a little bit.
Right. Well, it's funny. I saw one comment somewhere where it's like, and I guess between the toy series and the cartoon, where it's like, well, they're selling in the toys, they're selling all of the studio characters. But then in the cartoon, you basically only had say Ultra Magnus, who was already killed, in the previous season, and then RC. And I'm like, and it's only halfway through. I'm watching. I'm like, but then there's RC. Like, how is there just this random RC character, but then everyone else is G1?
Yeah. Well, I mean, practical answer is she was in the Kingdom toy line.
Right. Yeah. Or I shouldn't say. I mean, she's G1 as well. But yeah, it's just funny at that point. It's clearly more of a a Hasbro marketing tool, as opposed to well, she really shouldn't have been within this part of the storyline.
Yeah. Well, she's been there in all three parts, so it was very much continuing off a role that was already there.
Right.
Yeah. But I did notice, and I wonder how much of this was the needs of the story and how much of it was top down asks from above. But this one, because they got the whole Beast Wars cast there, this one was a lot more representative of the line of figures than Earthrise was, and to a lesser extent Siege.
Okay.
Yeah. RC was there, the transforming arc was there, the whole Beast Wars cast was there, and they made it into the line.
Actually, the arc was what was interesting, the see transform.
Yeah.
Which I mean, kind of has the similar Bumblebee, the Cybertronium Bumblebee look to him. But it was a surprise for the arc to transform. His face somewhat looks similar to Dinobot.
Yeah, I thought it looked like the Autobot symbol, but stylized.
Mm-hmm.
They said that the face, I don't know if it's the face or the aesthetic of the bot overall. I heard people saying that it was modeled after some other character.
The last Autobot?
Yes.
Yeah, because his face was also...
Tell us what that is. I don't know what the last Autobot is. That's not a G1 thing.
Yeah. It's from the G1 Marvel comics towards the very end of them. It was just
my mistake.
Yeah, more of a plot device than a character. After they found him deep underground on Cybertron because the planet was coming to pieces after Unicron attacked, and he's like, I'm here to bring the planet back together, and just powered everyone up. So he's just like an ancient Autobot. Yeah, I'll admit I'm not super familiar with late Marvel stuff, but like that's my understanding. I've seen like, I've read the article,
and not the UK Marvel. You mean like the mainstream US?
Yeah, the US one.
Okay.
And so I was just talking about how a lot of the stuff in this and Earthrise with Galvatron trying to change the future is just pulled straight from Marvel UK.
From UK, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And complete with the whole problem of if you go back and change things, it's just an alternate timeline. Your own future doesn't change. That was a thing in Marvel UK. That was a thing here.
Who's got beeping going on in their background?
Oh, that was me. Sorry. There's an oven going off.
I'm just, I often like to get stuff in the microwave. So I'm like, is it me or is it one of you guys?
Yeah.
It's going to be the Sunday nights talk about Transformers, homemade pizza. We'll have like a little cooking show in the segment.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Let me tell you why I'm shocked not to see Mr. Orlati right now.
He may or may not be able to make it. He does apologize. There's a personal thing that came up, so it is between the three of us for the evening.
So okay. Do you think it's best that we not say the reason why he may not show up?
It's best we don't.
Because you think it'll offend our audience, in case there's people who really did enjoy Kingdom. We shouldn't tell them that he came down with a sharp case of Kingdomitis.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny because something I said to Spin was like the day Kingdom came out. Before I binged it, I went to the comic shop and I picked up the latest issue of the Beast Wars comic. So I was like, if this is no good, then I have a good story here. A good Beast Wars story.
Oh, that's using your head, right?
Yeah.
So you're like I'm gonna try to accept the good and not be too affected by the bad. But that you are an endemic nerd and you love this fiction, and so you could be affected. So it's kind of like, you prepared and you had yourself, in case you needed it, some kind of antiseptic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Fortunately.
Yeah. Now, I was going to say, the thing that I mentioned before was I was surprised by how much I enjoyed this one. Like, it had problems, but it was a noticeable jump in quality over the previous two, and it might have to do with one of the Cyberverse writers being brought on for this part.
All right, Anthony, as usual, you're going way too far ahead. Let's back up.
Mm-hmm.
DJ Spinister, what do you rate Kingdom out of 10?
Ooh.
Out of 10, I'll give it an 8.
Wow. Okay. Now our fellow cast member who's not here doesn't feel it exactly the same way. All right, Anthony.
I spoke to him for a moment before his apology, so I know his will probably be below a 5.
Yeah.
Why are you giving it all away? You guys, can you guys answer the question and only the question? We're gonna get to those other parts. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now
look at how you guys are like all excited to say stuff. Okay.
I'm excited to say stuff. I just don't want to cut him off.
No, I understand that, Anthony. But just make sure, like, when I point to you and ask you a specific question, you answer the question, and you don't, not saying any names, start giving, the other person's answer when you're supposed to be giving your answer. Okay, so Anthony, don't start talking about your friends' numbers. What are you giving it out of 10?
I will say I need to rate the other two as reference for this.
Yes, but
Siege, I would give like a 6 out of 10. Earthrise, I'd give like a 5.5. Kingdom, I would give like a 7 out of 10.
What did you give the first one? See?
6.
6, 5, 7.
Yeah, basically. I feel like that reference is necessary to understand where I'm coming from with the 7.
I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I would take issue with is you, once again, doesn't matter how much caveat I give you, I say, give me the number. You say the number. Okay. Spin.
Yes.
Seeing as Anthony jumped ahead, how do you rate this? If you're giving this an 8, one mark higher than Anthony, how did you rate in comparison? What are you going to rate out of 10 Siege and Earthrise?
Let me see. I'm trying to remember. Siege was first?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so Siege, I would give that one I would give a 6. Earthrise, I would give a 7. Because I did like the elements of I'm trying to remember where the Skylinks reference came from. If that was
that's probably the best part of Earthrise.
Yeah.
Would you agree, Anthony? That was a good part.
Yeah, I remember I watched it with Jess, and he was in the middle of all this crazy lesson, and Jess is like, I love how he's getting this pep talk from an airplane dragon. That's what she called him.
Well, Jess, I think she hit the nail on the head. Sometimes the less you know, the more you know.
Mm-hmm.
Where everybody's like, "Oh, it's so hard to what is he anyway? And is he he's a fucking airplane dragon? What's wrong with you guys?"
Yeah.
An airplane dragon.
Those who have eyes will see. It's airplane, airplane dragon. Which now I think I'm a little bit more clear on the kind of plane I would like to build.
An airplane dragon.
Yeah.
Why not?
I think we should do that. I think we should determine like how many Patreon subscribers we need in order to fund our construction of an airplane dragon.
Like
one sorry?
Flies?
I'm thinking, it's like, at what scale is this going to be? Like, we want to compete with Bezos and what's his name? The Tesla
Elon.
dude.
Musk?
With Elon. Yeah, with Musk. So, they have a rocket and this and that. Like, we're going to have like an airplane dragon. Like, they don't have that. Like, we have to have that.
I agree. And you see, did I say ultralight? Because I was talking about, because initially I was going to build myself an ultralight, right? That's why I have an airplane hangar, and I've done like a bunch of workshops with the EAA, which is the Experimental Airplane Association. So I did like a welding workshop, and I did a metalworking workshop, and I did a composite workshop, which is carbon fiber, fiberglass, that kind of stuff.
I was going to ask, carbon fiber.
Yes, obviously. Obviously we're making our transformers out of fucking carbon fiber.
Yes.
Because I'm the god of carbon.
No carbon copy about that.
Boom!
1-1 scale Skylinks.
So yeah, but I don't know about the 1-1 scale, because at least to start with, right? So as Spin and I have a buddy named George Hotz. You look a little bit like him, actually, Anthony. He's a little more technologically inclined, but as he's sort of a mentor for me in terms of business. And he says, you have your goal, so his goal is achieve self-driving cars. He's building self-driving cars. He's competing with Tesla. But his version is an open source panel where you just plug it into any car, and you just whatever car you have, turn that into a self-driving car, as opposed to, Tesla's model is more comparable to Apple, right?
Hack the car.
That's what he's doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which makes perfect sense because he came to fame as a hacker. Mm. So the goal of his company is self-driving cars, but it's deliverables on a quarterly basis on the way towards that eventual goal. So we're going to do, for instance, a airplane dragon, 1-to-1 scale. That's going to take a significant amount of time and resources. So in order to fund the project as it goes along, you want to do iterative steps that are marketable, that work that you can show and work that people can get excited about, and something that can bring in some money to keep things rolling. So therefore, I think we should start with some smaller versions and then work our way up to the full-size airplane dragon.
Yes.
One-person airplane dragon, first of all.
Precisely. You got for. Maybe it's good not having Orlati here. Now, like everybody's on the fucking same page. Okay. Okay.
So
it could just be the number of cats that I need to herd. I'm not, it's nothing against Orlati. Just like, 2 of you as opposed to 3 of you, there might be that limit.
One Italian limit.
You never know. Never know what it is.
Is it?
So now let me tell you what an ultralight is, in case you don't. Do you guys know?
Presumably, it doesn't weigh very much.
Well, I was going to ask, are we speaking light as in spectrum or light as in weight?
This is a designation for vehicles, for flying vehicles.
Okay, so weight.
And it's a designation by the FAA. And so if your airplane is under a certain weight, I forget what it is. I think it's 250 pounds, something like that. Long as your experimental aircraft that you build yourself is under a certain weight, I think it's 250 pounds, you don't need a pilot's license to fly it.
Got it.
If you make it, and if it's heavier than that, then it's an airplane. You got to have a pilot's license.
Right.
So, so that's a benefit to making it light. However, the airplane dragon is a 2-part thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I don't think there's any rule that says that your 2 ultralights can't transform into one.
Slightly less ultralight.
Well, it wouldn't be ultralight once it's transformed. But as long as each one stands as an individual ultralight, then you don't need a license to fly either one.
Mm-hmm.
Although, how would you fly the second part? And I could see the second part being marketed as a passenger carrying system for those who would like to pay to fly to space. The Lynx side of it.
Yeah, I like that.
Airplane dragon and land cat.
Yeah.
As opposed to Sky Cat.
Okay, so when you have an ultralight, and I think also for an ultralight, it can only be 1 passenger. You're not allowed to make it a 2-passenger vehicle. Then it's a plane. Then you have to have a pilot license.
Right.
Which again, it's not that big a deal. Like there's people who are in the AA. You just get your pilot's license, but you just have more rules that you have to follow. Right? It's an airplane, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if you make a powerful enough airplane, so I want to make a jet. So you make a jet. It's an ultralight, qualifies as an ultralight by itself. Okay. Now, realistically, even if you have an addition, once you put that addition on there and you're trying to fly with it, if you're carrying passengers or anything else, now it's not an ultralight. But if that rolls as a vehicle, or it's like somehow it's mobile by itself, which it has to be if it's the Lynx, right? You just have to, like, once you go into some other designated airspace, right? So it's both of them are vehicles on their own, ultralights in the US. But we go over to Africa, or we go to Latin America, or we go some other place where the restrictions are less stringent, then you can combine it, and there you go. It's a passenger carrier. You take people to space. All we need is 1 million subscribers on Patreon, and I will make it so.
That's it.
Yep, that's we can do it. If the people will it.
Yes.
People in the party people. Up into the space we go.
Ain't nothing to it but to do
it. Nice.
Kingdom.
Yeah, so Kingdom.
Yes.
I've been talking about.
Hold on. So Spin. So here's the only major difference between you guys. Spin's giving it 1 extra point, but also Spin rated them as getting increasingly better, whereas Anthony, you think Siege was Earthrise dropped the ball, and then this one kind of rescued it.
Oh yeah, definitely. This one rescued it. And I think I said before, I think it's because they got some of the writers from the Cyberverse TV show to come on and join it, which is a good show, and they were like, let's see how we can resuscitate this.
Okay, so clearly, like, you have an unlimited rant that you want to do about it. So I'll let you go. I'll let you go ahead with that. And I'll just say, and then I'll throw in. I have a fair bit to say. Probably not. You're like, these are your characters more so than ours.
Yeah.
But just my ranking is more or less the same as yours, Anthony. I think, it's that sort of like, there's good things about each, but I think Earthrise really was disappointing. We were really hoping with Siege, we saw potential, but we saw a lot of problems, and then we didn't see those problems get resolved in Earthrise. We saw them just, more and get worse. And then here, they stepped it up a little bit. It's too bad this wasn't the quality of the second one, and then we got to better.
It puts it in a weird place to recommend, because like this is the one that I can be like, this is a good show, but I don't know if it's worth sitting through the other two to get to this one,
Right.
I mean, if you're a Transformers fan,
yeah,
it is, like in all of them. So I really like the visuals and the graphics are good in all of them, right? I feel like they even stepped that up in this one as well.
I think they did.
Yeah.
There's something about the lighting and stuff was more sophisticated. Some of the effects.
The fact that it was daylight most of the time now instead of gloomy.
Interesting.
I didn't think about that.
And I mean, at the time when Beast Wars initially came out, like that was new, animation technology, because that was around the time of Reboot. The fact that like they were able to do Kingdom and give it the same style of animation, but still make it look a lot better. Like I was impressed with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have sucked if they looked like they looked in the 90s. Yeah. Okay, Anthony, break it down for us.
Okay. First of all, I might be a mark completely, because I'm starting to realize between Kingdom, the toy line, Beast Wars, the comic, and this show, if you put the Beast Wars people in it, I'm automatically going to be biased towards it, right? Like,
we're aware of that, but that's okay. I mean, it's not like any of us are objective when it comes to Transformers.
Yeah, basically.
I'll be right back. You can continue.
I thought it was a big step up in terms of storytelling. The big problem I had with Earthrise was it wasn't really about anything. It was a bunch of unconnected events. This had like a through line. I liked the time travel stuff. With the exception of Beast Megatron, I pretty much universally liked how they handled the cast. A lot of good lines. I liked what was going on with Starscream in this version. both as the Unicron Doom Prophet, but also just Dinobot just like tearing his personality apart. Like that, I know for a fact that was a May Cat line because she said so on her Twitter. She was like, I wanted to do something that presented him as both the victim, but also kind of a jerk still.
Yeah, I was actually impressed with Dinobot.
Yeah.
He had. I texted that I thought Black Arachnia had the best voice acting, but actually I think he did.
Yeah, I was going to say, Black Arachnia's voice actress deserves credit because she sounds almost exactly like the original. I checked to make sure it wasn't still her, you know?
So she nailed it. Cool.
Yeah. Dinobot, like, also good. He was doing something different comparatively, which, you know, is also fine.
Actually, I guess
it was good.
Yeah.
Anthony, I have a question. In terms of Black Arachnia in the original Beast Wars, how she was basically attracted to Air Razor, was that ever referenced in the original?
No, that's a new thing. In fact, they might have made a joke about that. You remember that bit where
No, that's obviously new. That's obviously new.
Yeah. Okay. She had that, like, everybody was having their like fear visions and she was being like stalked by a wolf.
Right.
On Beast Wars, her romance was with Silverbolt, who changed into a wolf with wings.
Got it. Okay.
So it was like being afraid of the other timeline.
Well, it's funny how you mentioned that. I mean,
but,
again,
and now that was a cisgender love interest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And again, only watching like the whole thing this morning, picking up on how now I forgot the name of what they were searching for, the element or that the Allspark. How the Allspark brought in that element of their thoughts in terms of like their fears or their dreams. You know, with Starscream like imagining the crown. Like I found that really interesting. But in terms of like all the other characters, you know, their fears or things that they're searching for, it's like they're envisioning it. The Allspark is bringing those visions, you know, out in their minds. So that was a really interesting concept that they brought in.
Yeah.
What was it about the Allspark that was cool?
Well, like when in one element where the Allspark is protecting itself from anyone finding it, and anyone who gets near it, it starts playing with that character's mind. So then Starscream is envisioning himself holding the crown from the original movie.
Right. You just thought that was cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing, and one of the other things I enjoyed was it's obvious that the writers of the show had seen Beast Wars because a lot of the stuff that was in here was referencing that the way we usually see like Transformers the movie get referenced or the G1 cartoon referenced, like little lines, little Easter eggs, things like that. All stuff specifically targeted to me. Like everyone, like people been talking about the bit there where Air Razor catches Black Arachnia and she says "my hero" and gives her a kiss on the cheek.
Yes.
That's a reference to Beast Wars, where something happened with a couple of different characters, where Rat Trap was falling and Rhinox caught him and he said "my hero" and gave him a big kiss. It was played more for comedy, but like exact same lines, exact same setup. So like that was a reference. Just a lot of little things like that.
And that's a good level of writing where, you know, some people will complain, well, it has to be you have to recreate it exactly how it was in 1984 or how the original comics were. But I'm like, no, you can still recreate the concept or at least explain it, but then still make references of past points. Because just like in Marvel TV shows, they're like, well, you know, if you looked at this one specific scene in the background, there was this number 665. But that number was actually from the comic book from like 1978, and, you know, and the writers were able to incorporate that. So it's like, you know, we're not going to tell the story exactly, but we're keeping strong references to, you know, to keep everyone interested.
Yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. Jess's favorite Beast Wars character is Rat Trap. She felt that Kingdom did him dirty, in her words.
I could see that.
Yeah, my opinion is that he didn't get enough to do, and the funny thing about him in Beast Wars was he was like the most effective Maximal. He solved any problem that came his way, whereas in this he was kind of just there.
Yeah, like just the like that extra. Like that extra in a TV show that's there for like
to give him a good voice. Like, I know that the voice acting is overall shite, but they did like the weakest New Yorker bitch accent I've ever heard. It's not hard. Like, it's such an easy shit accent to do. And then they couldn't even pull that off. And they gave him, like, small, stupid lines and made him, like, a little weak bitch. And I stopped watching the moment they showed him as a little shit. I was like, no, this isn't my rat trap. This is my boy. I don't care about this show anymore.
Yep. That's another opinion.
Wait, can she hear us?
No. She just heard me talking.
I was going to say that she's almost auditioning to be a cast member.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, like that was cool.
Now has Jess? We're not going to go into this now because we definitely need Orlati here for this. I was thinking about doing it, but we got to set it up for another time. But has Jess seen Masters of the Universe Revelations?
No, neither of us have.
Okay. All right, so you guys need to watch that before we do our special on it, because we got to do a special on it.
All right, I'll keep that in mind.
Right. But yeah, for today we're talking about this. So sorry. Go ahead. That's what you were saying.
What was I saying? Oh, just that I didn't think they did Rat Trap very well. Or Beast Wars Megatron. I said earlier I kept expecting him to turn traitor. Yeah,
the Beast Wars Megatron, like that's
it was a bit of a letdown.
a huge letdown.
I said earlier, I thought he was going to turn traitor. I thought he was playing nice so that he could stab the original Megatron in the back, because that would have been in character for him. But then they just didn't. And we just played him straight. And I was like, oh, man.
He was just a sycophant.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's exactly the word I used before, I think.
It is.
But other than that, the rest of the Beast Wars characters were done either okay or like not there. Like Tigatron didn't really do anything, but they handled him fine, I guess, in that sense. But like everybody else was pretty on point. Some of them were the same, some of them were a little bit different, but you had those guys, and you had I liked how the time travel story played out. I liked the last episode in particular. I thought it had a really strong finish. So it was like, yeah, I was surprised how much I liked this. Maybe it's because of the Beast Wars people, but no, I think they just like stepped the quality up, and it's a shame that it's only getting good right at the end. But yeah, that was my opinion on it, really.
I mean, it doesn't. There's no reason why they can't, carry forward the quality and the people who are working on it now. Towards making something, the next thing good.
Yeah, I was going to say, I said this to Spin earlier. The rumors that are around that are from sources that are usually pretty credible is that the next line of figures after Kingdom is going to be called Legacy, and it's going to be a mixture of every generation. So the way.
So they set that up well.
Yeah, so the way Kingdom, the show ended, that's probably what they're going to get into, like a multiverse type thing, which, again, they also teased. So.
Yeah, so that bodes well for the future. Like they're finally getting this shit together.
Yeah, this was interesting because I'm like, I don't know if I'd call it like good, but it's decent, and it's a really strange feeling to have about this show.
Why?
I just because now that it ends on such a high note, I'm not really sure what to think of the whole thing.
I don't really get your point there, because it seems like you're saying it seems like that's exactly what to think of the whole thing. So it's decent. Like it's not amazing, but it's not a complete write-off.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the first two parts, but this one I'm kind of a fan of. So it's that jumping. Well,
you gave them above 5.
Yeah, that's true. On the scale of Transformers media, they're no like Energon or Armada, so you have to give them above a 5 because they make a passing grade.
Yeah, so and consider like we're people with discerning tastes when it comes to this with this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So now, speaking of which, you guys both, I'm sure, are aware. I don't know how much you talk to our MIA homie, but you guys are aware that he's not rating this series as high as the three of us are. So yeah. I don't know if you know what his reasons are, but I'm interested, before we get into any of our own critiques, what do you think are the reasons, if you've heard from other people or if you can speculate about it, whether it's Orlati, whether it's others, whether it's, the articles, like I Googled it. I think before I watched it, Spin reminded me that it was out on Friday. And then he said, and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to go watch it. And he said, yeah, it's not that good, apparently. So I Googled it, and it's like, the first article said that it basically is garbage. First article that popped up. It was like, a jumble of trash. And so actually this is in our text stream, our Children of Primus group. And I said, well, look, if it's like a whole bunch of characters just thrown together in the last minute with no time for character development other than one line, that's an homage to G1.
Yeah. Rebirth all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I was, and then after that, so I saw that thing, and then Orlati, I still hadn't seen it. I watched it on Saturday. I didn't end up watching it on Friday. So then Orlati called me Friday night, and he's like, "Oh, you watch it? Man, I'm so depressed. It's so garbage." And I was like, "Really? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but don't tell me about it because I gotta watch it first, and then you gotta like, if you vent now, you won't." I told him to save it up for Sunday. And now I guess I probably shouldn't have said that. Maybe he bottled it up and now he's all dying, but dying inside because of how much he didn't like it. But then when I watched it, I was like, "Yo, this is good." I don't know why he's complaining. I thought it actually, like, the plot was interesting. There were things to try to figure out. You're guessing at stuff. Like, it didn't suck. So I'll tell I can talk about the things that I liked about it.
Yeah, I'm interested.
But I want to know what you guys think are the reasons why the reviews have not, the overall reviews. I think I only saw the one, so maybe more have come out. But from what I saw on Friday, Orlati's reaction, Orlati's not the only one with a negative reaction. So why do you guys think that we like it, but so many people don't? That's my question to you. Let's start with Spit.
Well, before I give my answer, we have to give a shout out to Thomas Todd, who is in the group chat, and he said, and his comment was, "Yeah, the voices didn't sound right."
So we can relate to that because even on our show occasionally the voices haven't sounded right.
That's our brand.
That's our brand, but this week we're
but thank you for sticking with us, Thomas.
Yes,
thank you, Thomas, for believing in us. Well, hopefully we're going to be getting better with each season. I'm sorry, Spin. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to say, the question is like my overall view of the series.
No, the question is, when we talked on Friday, you let me know, and then I sent you that article, and like a lot of people are saying that it's confusing, that it doesn't make sense, that it's a mishmash of unconnected things. So why do you think that the three of us are rating it relatively high? You gave it an 8. Anthony and I gave it a 7. Not stellar reviews, but we were, the three of us were not disappointed. And I think we had some disappointment with the first 2 series.
Yeah, and I mean it's going with a lot of shows and movies nowadays, and again, me always referencing back to Marvel, where it's like writers actually sitting down and properly connecting things together and building storylines, and not just creating, instead of giving us Sunstreaker and Sideswipe, you gave us a transforming ice cream truck that's just a side comedy act, had nothing to do with anything. But I mean, in terms of what I did, I just watched the entire series this morning. That's the one chance I actually got the put aside time, watch the entire series. But I tried to stay away from any reviews or any other comments online. I mean, my eye did caught a few here or there where they didn't like it. I would say, in a sense, probably probably a few reasons why some people wouldn't have liked it. The voice acting for sure is the one thing you do have to struggle through. Right. And then seeing the voice acting for
only for the Transformers, right? Only for
they're all Transformers.
Yeah. No. the Autobots and Decepticons, have this problem versus the Beast Wars characters seem to not. I think we said this in the chat too. I said, well, the Beast Wars characters are from the future, so they fucking resolve that glitch.
Mm-hmm. At some point, they seem to resolve that, but then watching more of Optimus Primal, he started to slow down a bit and have a few of those pauses and hmms. And hey, what's up, Calvin? Hey, what's up, everyone? He says, and
what up, Calvin?
What up? So if you've watched all three, and it's you have to kind of get through that, the voice acting of the G1 characters, now comes in the Beast Wars element, and because they're the future, they're the characters from the future, they're supposed to be more refined in their talking and everything.
That's just silly. I'm just making that up. Where I don't think anybody would really buy that.
But you know what? They kind of make reference of that in the show, because how many multiple times when they're trying to fix the Ark, they're you guys and this archaic technology, you guys and you guys are so outdated. So they basically made fun of G1, saying, well, you guys are just primitive garbage. We're the future better version of you guys. but then when Megatron, Beast Wars Megatron starts talking, I'm like, so we had to deal with, the gaps and ums and ahs of G1. But then there's Megatron. And I'm like, I could see that really turning people off, where it's every iteration of Megatron and Galvatron, he's not this character of well, I'm just a puppy to everyone else, and looking at this version of Megatron, I'm surprised he's even able to lead an army of Predacons. He doesn't have that leadership quality. And
maybe, well, look at him right here though. So
he's a big Barney.
When he so I agree. And the thing that was weird was that they played him so weak, generally speaking. I see your purple Tyrannosaurus, and I raise you one. Mine's bigger, though, as you see. It's coming closer and closer.
And while you guys are talking, Calvin has said, I got the Ark this morning. No Rodimus Prime at Target, folks. The show took a wild turn. The voice actors didn't match up.
Yeah, this seems to be the most common criticism I keep hearing.
Yeah, Beast Wars Megatron wasn't right at all, says Calvin.
Hey, we tried this before, but let's open up the possibility, Calvin, if you want to join us in the chat, especially since we're missing a cast member today, let us know and we can email you a link.
Or Facebook message it. Yeah,
that's what I mean. Spin that you can handle that if Calvin is down.
Yep.
I think he said, we asked him that a long time ago, and he said his internet connection might not be able to sustain it, but just in case. So what I was saying about Beast Wars Megatron. So yeah, like they played his character so weak, with the few exceptions of like when he was being a tough guy I'm talking about now in robot mode, in bot mode, except for his interactions with Dinobot, where then he seemed to be like somebody that you could refer to as Megatron, that could carry the name Megatron. But whenever he transformed into T-Rex mode, I have some funny things to say about just all the beast modes. But when he was in T-Rex mode, then they didn't play him as a wimp, right? Like in any of the fights that he was in, he was kicking everybody's ass. And so, during the show, I was like, this seems like it doesn't make sense. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Like when Dinobot's like, I'm a warrior. I'm going to go kick everybody's ass. And then, T-Rex shows up and he's like, listen, little Velociraptor.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to slow your roll. That velocity is going to have to go down a notch.
Well, it's funny.
Your ass going to get chewed up.
Calvin has said Dinobot carried the show, which is kind of an interesting thought that I had in terms of Grimlock. And I mean, the concept of the Dinobots, they were stronger in their dinosaur form, except for the one time when Megatron realized they're weaker as robots, and that's when they got attacked. But then watching...
Hold on. You said except for. But that's not except for. That goes right along with what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, but then watching Grimlock's character kind of diminish over the years, where it's like, he started off as like the strong, that everyone feared the Dinobots. By season 3, like Grimlock was just the, like the jester of the cartoon. So it's almost like, Beast Wars Megatron is kind of the same, where it's like, in his T-Rex mode, like you don't mess with him. But then once he's in a robot mode, it's like, even Megatron was kind of belittling him like multiple times. Like, don't use my name. Like, who are you? Get out of here. Like, you're not a Megatron.
No, but exactly. But that's exactly where I was going, is that like on the one hand, it seemed like discordant, but on the other hand, if you take it in that way, it can kind of make sense. Like, okay, this is why he's the leader, is because in his alt mode, he's powerful, right? Even though, he doesn't have that charisma that, we expect of the leaders.
Plus,
in this iteration, and
the voice that they gave him, it didn't help.
Yeah.
It just was nondescript, right? It just it wasn't like a terrible voice. It wasn't a good voice. It was not memorable.
And it's funny because I felt like it was written with the thinking that he would sound more like the original Megatron. I mean, Beast Wars Megatron, because of all the yeses and nos they gave him. Mm-hmm. But the delivery was just completely different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just like, unlike the voice actor who did Black Arachnia.
Yeah.
This guy who was hired just didn't study the original. Like she, based on what you told us, I just said, oh, she sounds good, but I don't know the original.
She sounds saying really close.
Yeah. So she studied, the material, and the other guy didn't. Like the writer did, maybe, right, as you're saying, but the voice actor just didn't, take it serious.
Which is funny, because when you think of shows in the original form, and then if things get recreated later on, the original shows, an original show of any form, those original actors are basically laying the groundwork, as the writers figure out the characters, as the actors figure out their characters, and they build on that.
Right.
20, 30 years later, you can't then say, well, I'm going to voice this actor and kind of do a bad job to it. And it's like, well, no, there's multiple references that you could have sat down a couple hours and watched, how was this character portrayed originally? Can you recreate that or do something similar or even do better? But, to take that, so like, that's why Black Arachnia works. I don't think whoever was doing the voice for Megatron, even knew what a Transformer was. Like, it didn't work. Wait, was that the arc?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that we have to bring up at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't have the arc. It was Calvin who said he just got it.
Yeah. It's starting to trickle out.
I want it. I just don't want to pay $160.
That's it.
The dilemma of every Titan.
I didn't. You know what? I didn't mind for Scorponok.
Yeah,
That was the one where, like, the way that looked, I was like, I'm willing to pay. All the other ones, I was waiting, including the Omega Supreme. I never bought that Omega Supreme, because I was waiting for it to get discounted. I got the Trypticon, but I missed out on the Omega because they kept all the Titans kept coming out and then getting discounted.
Right.
But yeah, that probably won't happen with the arc. I'll probably have to cough up the cash.
For a second, I thought you were talking about Beast Wars Scorponok and his tiny role on the show, and I was like, that was very appropriate for him to show up for like 30 seconds just to get owned because he was a complete like goon on the original show too.
Yeah,
that was 100% him.
Was he? And he's called Scorponok, right? Like in this series, I don't remember. Did they refer to him by name?
They never named him in this, probably because they didn't want confusion or something. I don't know. But he was just, there to get his butt kicked by Rat Trap, which is, hey, that's 100% accurate. He was just a goon.
So how does Rat Trap scale in the original? Like how tall is he in bot mode relative to the other? Is it just like just like what we were used to in Q1, where you just have to expect mass shifting?
Yeah. I mean, none of these guys changed into life-size animals on the original. Like Rat Trap was always a giant rat, and Black Arachnia was always a giant spider. Like they didn't mass shift in Beast Wars because they weren't like. And they didn't explain why they took beast modes in this one, because in Beast Wars, it wasn't for disguise. It was for protection from the toxic levels of energon in the environment, because it was so much that it would overload them if they were in robot mode too long outside of their bases. So like they didn't care about, like, they didn't shrink or anything. They were just like, I'm a normal-sized robot. Now I'm changing into a giant spider or a giant rat.
Interesting. But in this one, it seems that Rat Trap did shrink when he turned into a rat.
Maybe a little bit, but he was still kind of a giant rat. And more importantly, he was like a small guy on the original show too, just like he was in this.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I could be. But when he went into, like, he went in to save who was it? Air
Razor, yeah.
So when he went in there and he was sneaking around, I got the impression he had transformed into a tiny rat, the size of a rat, and he was like going through the little crevices and stuff.
Well, maybe he had. I need to watch it again. I guess I was used to the idea that they didn't change sizes. I didn't really think about them shrinking. Like, I don't think Black Arachnia shrank.
No, but there is another reference when Wheeljack is trying to repair the arc, and he's underneath a panel, and Rat Trap is under there. And he's probably about the size of Wheeljack's hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
rat
something
size.
new.
Rat size. Okay, and now and what size is Rhinox supposed to be in the original fiction? Are you saying, listen, Anthony?
Yeah.
Stop answering the questions before I ask them.
It's my mind. It spins.
Yeah, but then you're not going to give me the answer I'm asking for. You're just going to talk around the subject.
And before you ask the question, Calvin has said organic skin to protect them from the energon.
Yep,
Nice.
that's the original.
Yep, awesome. Yeah, they just didn't explain it right in this series. But so in the original fiction, as far as you understand it, Anthony, what scale was Rhinox, and were any of them, and what scale was Optimus Primal? So yeah, I'm talking about the beast in their beast forms. What were the scale of the characters we saw? So was the gorilla? So the gorilla was like a giant gorilla, big enough to fight a T-Rex, because that obviously is at a scale. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that brings up an interesting point. And it's something that Kingdom sort of danced around. So explicitly in Beast Wars, the Maximals and Predacons, which are descendants of the originals, are human scaled instead of giant robot scaled. Like
in bot mode.
Yeah, in robot mode.
Okay.
So that more or less translated to like Optimus Primal's gorilla mode was more or less the size of a real gorilla because he was already human sized. Rhinox was more or less the size of a real rhinoceros.
Well, that's already okay. Hold on. If you're human scale, you're going to have to mass shift to get to the size of a real rhinoceros.
Mm-hmm.
But way more so to get anywhere near the size of a Tyrannosaurus.
Yeah. Well, Megatron was kind of an undersized Tyrannosaurus on the original series because he was about the right size to fight Optimus Primal.
Well, how do you know that Optimus Primal just wasn't a little bit of a oversized gorilla?
It's something of a spoiler for Beast Wars, but I will say this directly: we do eventually get to see them right next to some Generation 1 characters, so we do eventually clearly get that scale shown to us.
In animal mode, in
robot mode, yeah.
You're getting no, dude. We're talking about alt. We're talking about alt mode. You already stated. I'm not questioning you told us we are trusting you, but only if you don't give us contradictory information. We're trusting you that the robots are human scale in the original fiction. Okay?
Yeah.
Now we're asking you to give us accurate information about in the original Beast Wars the scale of the alt modes. Yes. Right.
The scale of the alt modes was that they were never explicitly shown mass shifting. So, the human-sized Optimus.
It doesn't matter if they weren't explicitly shown mass shifting. They have to be mass shifting unless they're all turning into beasts that are approximately the same size. Is that what you're saying? Like all of them are approximately the same size?
No. Like characters like Rat Trap and Black Arachnia and Tarantulas were shown to be like giant scaled versions of their animals because they were like they were just like human size, so they changed into like a human sized spider, basically, stuff like that.
I understand that. But so let's say Black Arachnia turns into a human-sized spider. Cool.
Yes.
Then you're saying that Megatron, a human-sized robot, turns into a human-sized Tyrannosaurus Rex?
Yes. Yeah. He's like the equivalent of those people that wear the big T-Rex costumes.
I just can't believe it. I just can't believe that it would have been that stupid. So
it worked out in execution.
Okay, so but in this fiction that we watched,
yes, this new one.
So I can understand that you didn't notice Rat Trap turned into a tiny rat because I mean he wasn't in his alt mode a whole lot, and certainly not relative to the other characters.
Plus, the original series was in my head.
Hey. I bought that argument. Okay, you already gave me that argument. Okay, that I'll buy that because we were talking about Rat Trap. But now when we're talking about Megatron, your argument, the original series was in my head. No, I'm not going to buy that because that alt mode, that purple dinosaur was in the fiction a fair bit and was in battles and was fighting with others, including eating the Velociraptor Dinobot. Yeah. And Dinobot came up to his knee. He was a properly scaled for a Velociraptor versus a T-Rex, which is 1/5 of the size, 20% of his size. So you can't tell me, I didn't notice that the purple Tyrannosaurus Rex, was huge compared to all the other beasts. Unless you're going to tell me you just weren't paying attention.
Oh, I was paying attention.
You just were all googly-eyed about it. You're just the Beast Wars can do no wrong.
Yeah.
Let's be critical about the G1 characters.
I mean, I think they did plenty wrong. They did plenty right, though. So
fair enough. Okay, so anyway, they were mass shifting. Well, I was complaining about the fact that, like, right at the beginning. So I didn't know that they in their original, they were just whatever size they wanted to be anyway. Which that's a precedent in Transformers, right?
Yeah.
Like Megatron, generally speaking, would shrink when he went into his alt mode, but for whatever reason, very rarely, if ever, did Shockwave ever shrink. He just turned into a massive gun about the size of his robot form.
Yeah,
right?
It's a Shockwave scenario in Beast Wars, basically.
Right. But not in this version.
Yeah, not in this version.
Except that Rhinox, that's why I started by asking about Rhinox, because in that very beginning, when they meet the Autobots and they're having their fight with the Autobots, Rhinox relative to Hound was basically the size of like Slag. Yeah, he wasn't even as good as that scale. That scale's still the Rhinoceros is too big.
Yeah.
For real life. But
so on Kingdom, it was more like this.
That's right. Yeah, right. Exactly. So basically, it was like when the Dinobots in G1 were fighting the Autobots in the Ark.
Force perspective.
Yeah. No. Well done. You're nailing it.
Nice.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of dumb. And then if we're going to talk about the other things that are dumb about the Beast Wars, and you said they did a lot wrong, so I think the way we should do this, Anthony, let me, if you haven't caught on to this.
Here we go.
We got to get Spin to answer first, because, whoever's got the most elaborate answer for a given question, that person should go last. So you remember, like in other episodes, where whenever I know I'm going to go into one of my tirades on a topic, I'll turn it into a lecture. I always try to make sure everybody else answers first, right? So where we are here, the reason why I'm coming to you last is because you're the one, especially on this topic, whenever we do have a topic where I know your answer is going to be the most involved, we try to come to you last. So I'm going to say the one thing, the second thing that I thought was kind of funny about the Beast. So the one is that the scale was off. And then the other thing that I thought was hilarious watching this, that happened a number of times, and then Spin, what are your critiques? And then we'll come to you, Anthony. Emphasizing, you could give whatever critiques you want, by emphasizing the Beast Wars characters. I was wondering to ask you, Anthony, about this. You could tell us when it's your turn. If this is like this in the original fiction. But so whenever they're going to fight, this relates to the same thing. So remember when RC was like, yeah, this terrain here, it was given us a hard time. Well, most of us, not all of us, right? I thought that was brilliant. Like, that was a really good line, right? Because Autobots are built to roll, right? And on a metallic planet, the electrons tend to line up in a straight line. So they're evolved for that kind of terrain.
Yeah.
So aside from their organic skin being protected against the energon or, whatever, also that morphology is appropriate to the natural landscape. So I like that.
Well, it's funny, Primus saying, when they're all going out and he's telling them to maximize, Hound is like, I'm guessing that means transform.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that line, was a little corny. Like, it was like, yeah, obviously, dude.
It was corny in Beast Wars too, so like
okay.
It's not a perfect show. Right?
But anyway, what I thought was hilarious is whenever they're fighting that involve both the G1 guys in the Beast Wars, is the G1 characters are shooting lasers at each other.
Yeah.
And the beasts are roaring at each other. Like, you're gonna shoot lasers at me and I want to go roar.
That is funny.
Some
In a
Indiana
sense,
Jones
it's like
action.
I overlooked that, but now that you mentioned that, I was like, I just remember that now. It's just like all these close up of just like roar.
Yeah. I'm gonna try and scare you away, scare your lasers away. Roar!
Well,
Oh, you got a gun? I can shout.
But then here's the funny thing is like, okay, then going with that, we're going with the concept that maximals and predacons are supposed to be from the future, but in a sense they're using prehistoric ways of fighting because animals naturally, I mean even today, but animals naturally, if they're coming at you, they're roaring or they're attacking. Like there's no guns or lasers involved, but they're from the future. Like how come they don't have like Ravage? Actually, yeah, that actually reminded me between Ravage and Cheetor.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, but it's like, how come like the animals don't have like side lasers?
Well, here's why. Because, so first of all, you said like, they weren't even like roaring as they charge at the guy shooting lasers, right? That would make some more sense, right? They're not like, you're shooting lasers at me, so I'm shouting to like, as I run at you. No, I'm like just standing here with the other guys who are shooting lasers, and what I'm shooting is my voice.
Yeah.
Okay. So but now to answer your question, if I'm going to play Beast Advocate, I'd say, look, that is a more civilized way of warring, right? First you have to talk things out. Okay. Yep. If it doesn't work when we talk it out, then I may have to raise my voice. It's a warning. It's a warning. Yeah, because I'm civilized. I'm not just going to fucking kill you right away. I'm going to like raise my voice. That's for you to know. Fight or flight, motherfucker. You need to run the fuck away. Yep. Right? Now, if you ain't going to run away, then we're going to get down. Right? Guns. We don't like to use them unless our enemies choose them. We prefer to fight you all like a man and beat you down with our hands, body slam you at the Wild Wild West. Wild Wild West.
I didn't realize that's where you were going with it.
Yeah. So that's more civilized, right? The more civilized way is, man the fuck up. So they realize that in the future because of the death and devastation caused by the war. Mm-hmm. I started as a criticism of the Beast, but now...
And you refuted yourself.
Touche! All right, Spin.
Yes.
What was the silliest or funniest or thing that you liked most about the Beasts themselves? If anything. Criticism or whatever. Observation.
I mean, funniest things, let's see, Air Razor... Not much I could say about Air Razor. Actually, not much about Cheetor either. I mean, even though Air Razor was kind of predominant in the episodes, there's not much more I could say about her. I mean, she did have a strong character role in it.
I liked her fight with Laserbeak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was surprised how Laserbeak. In a sense, it's like all iterations of Laserbeak. You can't really mess with Laserbeak. Because it's like, even though she's in her element, he still just like picked her up and then like tossed her. Like you don't mess with Laserbeak.
Really? I thought she won. That exchange.
Yeah, I was under that impression.
When it got physical.
No, he won. Or actually, I think Laserbeak is also female. That I'm not sure. But Laserbeak caught her and flipped her over and landed her.
That's not how I remember. Yeah. I remember Laserbeak ended up winning because he fucking uses lasers.
No, he grabbed her.
I think it was the other way around. I think she grabbed him and slammed him. Calvin, can you settle this dispute here?
What? Rewind the footage and report back.
Yeah.
Who's our audience? Somebody of our millions of viewers should be able to know. Should remember.
Funny little lines. With her saying the blue cassette player and the blue tape deck and his cassettes. But then there's the other reference of Soundwave saying that he hears something coming, and Megatron's like, I don't hear anything, and he's like, you wouldn't.
Yeah,
I'm like, that was good.
I like that, and I also liked. Although I'm not sure if it made sense, just along the lines of that first thing you said, where she's like referring to the tape deck. Like, would they know what tape decks are, even though they're in the future, right? They're far in the future, and they're so like. Would they know tape decks and would they know trucks, right? One of them was like, hey, where'd the big truck go? Or something like that.
On post-apocalyptic future Cybertron, 8-track made a comeback.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
But also Optimus Prime is a legend. So, like, they wouldn't just be like, the truck. It's not like Starscream. Like, you never heard the legends of Air Commander Starscream? Like they heard the legends of Optimus Prime.
But I mean, funny, going back to what you're saying, I mean, there's only so much that they can pack in within those episodes. So it's like you don't really get to analyze I guess the beast side of it. Because they weren't really in their beast forms that much, or it's temporarily either when they're like climbing or fighting or stuff, but then the rest of the time they're in their robot mode. I only recall Rhinox as a Rhinosaurus when as a Rhino in the initial part when he's fighting. The rest of the time I recall him just being in robot mode. Don't do it.
I'm sorry, I have to, but this time, but I won't phrase it as making fun of you. I'll phrase it as you've actually stumbled across the etymological logic for why it's reasonable for the Rhinoceros to look as big as a dinosaur.
Yes.
Because it's a kind of saurus. It's just the case that when we read in our thesaurus, we tend not to rhyme rhinoceros with other kinds, for instance, a tyrannosaurus. But actually, grammatically, in terms of spelling, a rhinoceros is a saurus. It's just the fact that we put the emphasaurus, sort of, on a different syllable, and therefore we don't realize that a rhinoceros is really a rhinoceros.
Yes.
Bet you never knew. DJ Sinister brought you on another level too.
Dun dun dun.
A rhinoceros.
Yeah.
What you want to ride today?
Rhinoceros.
I'm gonna ride my rhinoceros. Yeah.
Or
assuming you already have dibs on the airplane dragon.
Right.
Then I'll pick the rhinoceros.
I was what was the other thing? The funny thing, Megatron petting the head of the dinosaur. Like
that's a Beast Wars reference.
Of his what? What did he have?
A Beast Wars reference.
This guy, when he was just sitting there and he was talking to Megatron, he was using his hand to pet his T-Rex head, and he did that on Beast Wars a few times too.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that was a reference.
My kitty.
Yeah,
and it was like reacting a little bit too. It had like eyes and things.
Yeah,
yeah, that was a Beast Wars reference.
That's funny. It would have been interesting that they could have. It's interesting. Like, do you know anything about how they came up with the how they came up with the fiction storyline for Beast Wars? So, like, what I've understood is that unlike Nemesis Prime, yeah, that was good. Unlike the original Transformers, where the toys existed and then they had to invent a fiction in order to sell the toys. I think I've heard, you can correct me when I'm done asking the question, in if I'm wrong, I think maybe Beast Wars was conceptualized as a show and written prior to there being any toy design. So it's not like they made the toys and then created the fiction. Is that the case or no?
That is not the case. It was done the same way G1 was.
Okay. Well, then in that case, so good. So then the question, then I can ask the question the way I wanted to. So we talked before about the headmasters, where they made this headmaster gimmick, and then the writers had to come up with some way to turn this into some kind of a fiction. Yeah. And there's different ways of doing that. One is where the heads themselves are the sentient bots, are the transformers, and then the body is the transector. And then the other one where the head is the Nebulon, a humanoid alien, merging with the transformer, which is in the main body. So it's interesting, why, if they had these, I wonder if when they were trying to come up with the fiction for the Beast Wars figures, first of all, how did they come up with the figures? Why did they decide we're going to make animal transformers? And then why didn't they merge with the animals? That would seem like a logical way to do it. Especially when, some of them have the head still hanging off them, the legs still hanging off them. If they merged with a wild animal and sort of became, had a symbiotic relationship when they transformed into that animal, that would have been an interesting way to go. So tell us a little bit about the history of how that evolved, why they created those toys, where that idea came from, if and then how they came up with the particular story that they came up with.
I can speak a little bit to all those things. Beast Wars, the toy line, happened because Transformers was basically dead at the time because G2 had kind of been a flop, and so they handed it off to Kenner and said, "Do whatever you want with the concept." And so they just decided to do something completely different. And it was sort of steeped in the type of action figures that were popular in the 90s, like Ninja Turtles was popular. So you had a lot of these snarling bestial guys. So that played a factor into the creation of the toy line. So yeah, it was very much just trends of the time combined with the fact that Transformers wasn't popular at the moment, which, it was again after Beast Wars. But so they had free reign to just come up with something totally new because they were just do whatever. The TV show is interesting because the two writers that were responsible for it, Bob Forward and Larry DiTillo, they knew nothing about Transformers as a franchise when they started writing it. They had these marketing materials, but they'd never seen the show. They didn't know anything. So a lot of the originality of it was from them just coming up with new things because they weren't sure what had existed before. And they learned as the show went and actually interacted with the fandom to learn the histories of things. So later on it became a bit more tied in. But yeah, the TV show was very much a case of them just making it up as they went along without much of a knowledge of previous Transformers stuff, which sounds like it'd be a bad thing, but it turned out pretty well.
They had to know something about Transformers to come up with the rationalization of the organic skin and the energon.
Yeah. A lot of Beast Wars, the TV show, was written based on knowledge of how the CGI was going to work within the budget. You can't do lots of characters. You can't do cities full of people. So that was pretty much the reason why they decided to set the whole thing on an empty planet and put 10 people alone on there. And, I
was just going to ask that. So there was no one else on the planet, including there's no animal life. There's not other cheetahs running.
Oh, there are. Yeah. Yeah. But you don't have you have Cheetor changes into a cheetah. If you need any other cheetahs to show up, just clone the model a couple times.
Okay, so there are it's a wild planet. There's animals on this planet.
Yeah. But yeah.
Now, and are those animals scaled to the animals they transform into?
As long as it wasn't one of the insectoids or the rats.
Watch this spin. I'm gonna get them.
Like we see
Did they
Cheetor.
ever say, hey, I'm talking. Anthony,
Mm-hmm.
I know you want to talk about rats. I'm going to ask you about dinosaurs.
Mm.
Do you ever recall, to the best of your recollection, was there ever a scene where alt mode Megatron was in the presence of other dinosaurs?
No, and I'll tell you why. Because on this planet, the dinosaurs were already extinct, and they scanned fossils for the dinosaur formers.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Did you see the alt mode, the Tyrannosaurus Rex Megatron, in the presence of other wild animals that were not themselves Transformers?
It's a good question.
I'm generally good with questions.
I don't think so, because we did see other people interact with animals, but I don't think Megatron ever did.
That's strange because apparently he likes to pet animals.
Yeah, he likes to pet the animal that is on his hand.
Yeah, so you would
That
think
just sounds bad.
Also, he's a Tyrannosaurus, so like he'd like to go out and eat animals. You would.
Yeah.
So you never saw him with any other animals?
No, we did not. To the best of my knowledge.
Interesting how they wrote it. How they wrote it like that.
Yeah.
Spin. I'm a little suspicious of what this guy is telling us.
Yeah.
I think later we should do a little internet research and see if we can find any pictures.
I'd like
to expose Anthony. Look at how he's stuttering and trying to like qualify and trying to change the subject.
I would like to note, like, first episode of the show, we see Cheetor interact with real cheetahs, and he's the same size as them.
Which that actually, of all the animals, is reasonable. A cheetah is approximately a human being size.
Yeah. So a
cheetah can weigh similar to a small human.
Mm-hmm.
But a tiger, no.
Well, because I think in the original Beast Wars intro, like they show Teletran, or is it Teletran? Like they show.
No, it's not Teletran, but it's a computer. Yeah.
Right, and they show it scanning the dinosaur fossils.
Yeah.
In that sense, it's like then you think about when they were doing the research on creating the Dinobots, and
same origin.
The same origin, but I mean, in terms of them looking at the fossils and the research, then it ends up they create, like actual size dinosaurs that are much bigger than the Autobots because they're going by actual research. So then, if this thing is scanning the fossils, then shouldn't Megatron have been like 3-4 times bigger than like every other Maximal and Predacon?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I just realized? I think we're trying to like catch Anthony in these contradictions, but I think the problem is maybe Anthony, as much as he knows about Transformers, maybe he knows nothing about zoology.
That's possible.
maybe he has no idea of like the relative scale of like maybe he thinks tigers and cheetahs are like about the same size.
I mean, right. I've been to the zoo,
and he's like, well, a gorilla is big,
but
and a Tyrannosaurus is big, so they probably could fight.
But we're applying zoology to a tape deck that can fit in like a human hand, but then is also like 30 feet tall.
No, but we recognize that as mass shifting. We understood that even as kids. But for some reason, this kid over here, both in the 90s and now, doesn't realize that he was watching mass shifting in Beast Wars, and he's living in perpetual denial of it. And he's to this moment, he's still trying to deny it.
I'm living like 20 minutes away from the Toronto Zoo, and I've been there before. I've seen real rhinos and gorillas and cheetahs.
But have you seen a real
lions
dinosaur?
And tigers and bears? Oh my!
Yeah,
all seen a real dinosaur.
Have you also gone to the ROM? Have you gone to the ROM and seen the T-Rex?
I have been to the ROM. Yes, probably seen the T-Rex. I haven't gone there as much as I went to the zoo.
probably seen the T-Rex.
Yeah.
I'm gonna exile you. You grew up in fucking Toronto, and you probably saw the T-Rex.
Yes, I did see the T-Rex.
He's just you see. Look at that. Probably. No kid goes to the fucking ROM and doesn't see the T-Rex. Get the fuck out of here. But probably. I may have seen it. I don't know. I don't know. There's so many things there. I'm very interested in the ancient tapestries and stuff. As a kid. Like, whatever, dude. You saw the fucking T-Rex.
Of course I saw the T-Rex. I saw lots of fossils.
And you thought they were approximately the size of gorillas, did you?
No. I thought that the
DJ Spinister may be approximately the size of a gorilla.
I mean, that could have been a little bit of a racist comment, but we'll let that one go for this week.
I didn't say a black guy could happen to be the size of a gorilla. I said you. I know, because I fought a gorilla, and I fought DJ Spinister, and it took a fair bit of work. Let me tell you.
Did the gorilla win?
Of course not.
Those things.
What stupid question is that?
How many people come on the internet and say I fought a gorilla?
Exactly. Like obviously, if I'm here, I won.
Well,
anybody who fought a fucking gorilla and didn't win, they're not here.
I was gonna say, I'm like.
Now the reason Spin is still here and I'm still here is because that was a draw.
Yes.
Yeah. It was like.
Well, different animals were involved in that situation. We'll let that one go.
That's right. But it's like all your superheroes versus comics, right? It's always like they never really show a winner.
Like, there's a misunderstanding or somebody's deceiving them. They spend half the thing fighting, and then they work together for the back half.
Which is what happened in real life.
Yeah.
More or less.
And it's funny. I've seen this playing out in like so many shows, and come to think about it, it's like it also played out here too for a short bit. Like you get a good TV show, and you create the concept. Here's a good guy and a bad guy. The bad guy tends to be like invincible. Like no one can touch this bad guy, and is like the ultimate bad guy for the first season, and sometimes beats the good guy in that first season. Season 2, somehow the bad guy just lost his powers and has become weak in the comedy act and teams up with the good guy because now there's a newer bad guy that's stronger than everyone. So now the bad guy and the good guy have to team up and fight together for this new bad guy. And it's like you see that like little elements here where it's like, well, now like, predacons and maximals and autobots and decepticons are all teaming up because now we've got like some characters just running amok that's being sent by Unicron.
Yeah, everybody beats up Galvatron and Nemesis Prime.
Yeah.
Oh, Nemesis. Oh, yeah. So I liked that Unicron, that it was alluded to that Unicron created Nemesis Prime out of Optimus.
Yeah.
He's pulling the strings.
And that what he used to create Optimus Prime was to your point, Anthony, that you brought up in the early episodes of the first season of Children of Primus about the whole, the Paragon thing versus multidimensional character, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's alluded to here is even the greatest heroes, right? Even the best of us, like we all have the capacity for good and evil. We all have the capacity for fear and courage. You got to make the right choice, and sometimes you fuck up. And if you fuck up too much and you make it a habit, you go down the road where then that can be leveraged by people, right? They can talk that up, they can build that up, and then before you know it, you become that, right? So in the alternate universe, so Unicron doesn't make Nemesis Prime out of, you know, the complete opposite of Optimus Prime, but out of, you know, down regulating all the good things about Prime and exacerbating and dialing up all the bad things about him. The overconfidence, the anger, the frustration.
Yeah, and this version of him,
the indignance.
Yep.
This version of him in particular was so racked with
these motherfuckers.
Yeah, that attitude and that self
Good thing I don't have any of those negative characters. Otherwise, I would be fucking dangerous.
Nemesis D.
I wouldn't want to fight that guy, let me tell you. Would not want to fight that guy. Oh, my shoulder's aching already thinking about it. That motherfucker would be a bad motherfucker. No, I don't want to fight
him. He knows all your moves.
No, he does.
Yeah.
He does. And he's like, Nemesis Prime, he was doing all the superhero moves. He did the fucking superhero landing and punching the ground and shit. What the fuck?
Yeah, and then he's just slowly walking, menacing like everyone else, and like, you know, I'm here if you're ready to fight. Like I'm just chilling.
So doing the power strut.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So what was the most? Anthony, did you get all the out? I'm going to ask questions, but first, I just want to let you, you know, if there's other things you really want to say about it, what are the things you get it out of your system so then we can, have a civilized conversation.
I've been typing notes as I went. I do want to say it's funny you brought up AirRaiser before because I think she got more to do during this show than the entirety of Beast Wars. And that made me happy because on Beast Wars they introduced her towards the end
because you always had a crush on her.
No, I thought she was an underutilized character in the original show. They introduced her right towards the end of the first season, didn't really do too much, and then she got written out early in the second season. Okay. So wasn't on there for very long.
Why did she get written out? Like they stopped making the toy?
That too, but like budget basically, because you know this show's CGI is expensive, so whenever they brought in new characters, they needed to write other ones out.
Okay, yeah.
I was gonna say Dinobot's storyline. It was good in a bubble, but also they were trying to speed run his arc from the original show, which took him it took him like 2 seasons to get where they were, and Kingdom they did it in like 2 episodes. So it's like maybe if you don't know, it holds up together better. But when you do know, and he's like paraphrasing stuff from Beast Wars, and he goes down like a similar path, I'm like, this was done better before because they had way more time to have him go through this long, complicated like moral journey.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I don't know the original, but I did get that impression, right?
Yeah.
Like they did. It wasn't like it didn't happen in 2 lines.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, he said from those first episodes, he was like, you could tell that it was basically a Jetfire kind of narrative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where he's like, where he was saying, like, look, I'm not a traitor to the cause. Like, I believe in the mission.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just disagree with this order or this way of going about it, but you know, Megatron, you got to understand, like, overall. So you know, when somebody starts talking like that, okay, eventually they're defecting.
Yeah, he went through a whole arc later on, and so I guess it was just like you're trying to force a version of this story because you don't have time, but I don't think it had quite the foundation that it did before. What was it? I was taking notes while you were talking.
As people generally should.
Yeah. I guess the only other thing that I want to note here was they did not fight as beasts for no reason on the original show. They did have guns and they did properly shoot.
So that's even weirder then. Why did they have no guns here?
I don't know, but like I mentioned before, like there was this the reason that they had beast modes in Beast Wars was because they couldn't stay in robot mode for extended periods of time outside of their ships. So there were situations like even the back half of the 2-part first episode where they had to fight as beasts because they were in an environment where they couldn't transform.
Okay.
But like it was justified by the writing instead of existing for no reason, right? They're like, well, we were shooting before, but now we're next to a big energon crystal, so we got to go be in beast mode. So I guess this means we got a melee fight because we can't use any of our guns. But yeah, just handled better.
That's so okay. Yeah. So then that makes the criticism that I had all the more like,
yeah.
Why don't they have any guns now?
Yeah. I feel like 90%. Like,
I like them. I think it's better that they,
yeah.
have guns. But you got to explain it.
Yeah. So I'm like, everybody should watch Beast Wars. 90% of the questions that people have for me, first 2 episodes could solve most of them.
Yeah, but the reason I am asking you is because I have no interest in watching Beast Wars.
Well, we can't all have taste.
I know my way to Canada. Nemesis D would be a lot worse, but just regular old Professor D, Spin can tell you he's a motherfucking handful. He can be a little, even when he's like teaching you how to do those Aikido locks, like,
yep,
you can feel it. You can feel it. You learn something, but you don't come away not having felt it. So anyway, Spin, do you have any Kingdom figures?
No.
I have a buttload of Kingdom figures.
No Kingdom figures.
Anthony, who among our millions of viewers doesn't know that you have a buttload of fucking Kingdom figures?
This is true. Okay. All you got to do is read my reviews on the website,
or watch you while everybody else is talking.
Yeah,
as I transforming your figures.
Yeah, as I keep pulling out the relevant characters.
Yeah, well, which is well done. That's that's in keeping with the theme. So, Spin, if you were to get any Kingdom figures, which are the ones? Name your top 1, 2, or 3. Don't have to be in order. Which Kingdom figures are you actually interested in having, if any? And then Anthony, well, you can think about it. Top 3 Kingdom figures.
Let's see. Top 3 for me would be.
And don't start talking about other shit, Anthony. Kingdom figures. Don't say, well, in order for me to talk about my top 3 Kingdom figures, first I got to tell you my top 3 Siege figures, and then my top 3 Earthrise, in order for you to understand why. I'm sorry, Spin. Go ahead.
Let's see. For me, Dinobot. What is it? Dinobot. The White Tiger.
Tigatron.
That's a good name.
Yeah, and Optimus Primal. Like those would be my 3.
But out of all the Kingdom, so I'm not just saying the Beast Wars figures necessarily. Like you would pick those.
Oh, okay.
You would pick those over this guy right here. Not. Well. Hold on. I got so excited. Yeah. Anyway, I mean anything from the Kingdom line.
Okay, if it's anything, I mean, funny enough, it's like in terms of the Autobots and Decepticons, Starscream.
You get 3.
Well, I mean, that's funny that they show Cyclonus, like he's not even in the cartoon, so I don't recall all the actual Kingdom figures. Because I mean, Cyclonus does look good.
Yeah, he was. I thought. Yeah, so like, Anthony, you mentioned Anthony likes Cyclonus. Cyclonus is one of the best reviewed of all these figures. So, but he wasn't in this series. So, Anthony, you were saying that like they did a better job here of incorporating into the show all the characters that are in the line, but they did a better job here, but still they missed a couple, I guess.
It probably just budget again because like they had the story means to bring him in with Galvatron. They're just like
yes. But also, what about the theory that? So I was thinking, so it could have been like, okay, yeah, the Unicron and Unicron's guys, they just didn't get a chance to show up. Galvatron was there, surely, Cyclonus could have showed up. But there also is the theory that Cyclonus could have been designed for the 86 line.
Yeah.
And, for whatever reason ended up being in this line. And that would also explain maybe why he's not in this cartoon. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I can speak to that. A lot of people think it's the other way around, that part 3 of the trilogy was supposed to be Transformers the movie specifically, which is why, Galvatron, Cyclonus, Rodimus Prime are all here. But there was a swerve and they decided to throw Beast Wars people into the line. So then they did Studio Series 86 as a place to put the TFTM guys that got booted out of when they made Kingdom. That's the theory, at least.
Yeah, but I think my theory is better.
You just said it was the other way around?
Yeah, because think about this. The 86 movie characters have their strong fan base. Those are characters that have been re-released and re-released and re-released. They sell. Beast Wars figures, not the case. So the whole point of incorporating the Beast Wars figures here is to get that people who are like, okay, I'm going to buy the new G1 thing and I'm okay with the G1 iteration. I'll buy that for my kids too, but I'm not going anywhere near Beast Wars, is trying to integrate them to create this multiverse so they can do this fiction, right? This is their strategy. They're doing it in the live action films. They're doing it here, right? And they're trying to bring it all together as we've all discussed, as you've alluded to, right? So, and also, was it Calvin who just said, season 4 is possible? Like having integrated that, having put these figures here, is totally possible. They could do a season 4 as a follow-up that could be the 86 movie or like a version of it or events that happen, alongside it. Emphasizing those characters.
Yeah, it's plausible, I think. Given
and
where they left it.
If not, we can just make a stop motion version of it our goddamn selves.
Yeah.
Now, Spin, are you going to give your top 3?
All right. Top 3 Kingdom. I mean, from what I've seen, Ultra Magnus. Yeah, Ultra Magnus for sure. The Starscream. And Tigatron. Actually, sorry, not Tigatron, Dinobot. So those would be my top 3.
Okay. So you wouldn't go with this big purple Megatron?
No.
You don't like the Barney look? And you wouldn't go with, but what about Cyclonus? You wouldn't go with Cyclonus.
You know what? I mean, Cyclonus looks good, but it's like I tend to pick characters more for, what I know of them.
The character matters.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was like no reference of Cyclonus, but I mean, the toy does look good, but it's like I don't have any reference of it.
It's like a reference. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like you're choosing it based on you've now watched the show, you like the show, you gave it an 8 out of 10. Now, what are the I got it. What are the figures that you would put on your shelf to like remind you of watching that show?
Which would kind of add why I wouldn't pick Beast Wars Megatron. And I mean, he does look like a good character in the toy, but just how he's portrayed in the cartoon, it's not a selling point compared to the other characters.
I do no, I get it now because it wasn't making sense to me at first, but that's because I was thinking of it as having the toy. Whereas you're thinking of it as like, I'll put a couple characters on my shelf that remind me of the fiction that I watched that was cool. So those are two very, totally legit two different ways of like, what characters would I want to have. So over to you, who happens to have, so from one guy who has no Kingdom figures, but has remembered to mute his mic when he's not talking, touche. Over to Fear or Courage, the guy who has all the Kingdom figures, or many of them.
Many.
What are, if you had to give them all to DJ Spinister, except for 3 of them, what are the 3 Kingdom figures you would keep?
Oh, okay. That's a good way of asking. First of all, I actually really like Beast Megatron. I would keep him.
Would you trade him for a Masterpiece Beast Wars Megatron?
I don't think I would. I think I would rather have this version.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Why?
Because he's more fun to interact with, and I can actually transform him like within a decent amount of time, and he's just this big slab of solid stuff, Yeah. 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 Second one would be.
Of course, I viscerally disagree, but I'll allow you to have your own opinion.
Yeah. Second one would be Cheetor. I've talked about him before. I didn't think I was going to like him as much as I did, but then in hand, he's actually really fun to mess around with. Really posable.
He really looks good.
Yeah, really posable.
Let's see the back. That's the part I like least. Like, what are you going to do? It's kibble, right?
Yeah.
But even watching the show, like seeing the arms hang off the back, it really looked to me like it's like, okay, he killed the animal. He made like a leopard skin outfit. He's got the legs hanging out.
That's what he looked like the original too. That's accurate.
Sure.
Yeah. Third would be Air Razor, who I've brought up before. This isn't the best mode to show it off, but she has an incredibly posable bird mode. Like, her wings have a zillion joints in them.
Nice.
You can do lots of really neat stuff. It's probably the most posable bird transformer that they've ever created. It's a narrow criteria, but I'm pretty sure that's.
And how much
true.
is that figure?
This is a standard deluxe price.
$20?
Yeah, well, it's closer to 30 in Canadian, but it's about 20 American.
20 US, 30. Yeah, exactly. Which is Deluxe is the smallest one, right? This is Deluxe, and then Voyager, and then Leader. Were the original 3?
Yeah, there's also Kingdom has a smaller size called Core Class. Rat Trap's a Core Class.
Why don't you answer the question that I asked you?
Yeah, you asked if it was the smallest size.
Were the original 3?
I
said, I'm trying to get those 3 down.
Yeah.
Right. Core Class is the replacement for Legends.
Yeah.
But do I have that? So I have that order correct. Is let me say it. Lost it. Okay, give me that initial. So Leader is the biggest, and then Voyager is the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then what is the one smaller?
And then Deluxe.
Deluxe. Okay, so Deluxe. Now, how much was Spin? Are you familiar with these categories? Voyager, Deluxe, Leader.
Hold on.
No.
This is like what people refer to as Chug. So the Chug line, the main line of Generations Transformers and the stuff that goes along with that, right? So mainline figures in the modern era, in the last 20 years or to the last 15 years, this is Chug, and they've had this scale. Initially, there were these 3, and they were at these different price points, which corresponded with the size of the figure. And this, or there was 4 if you count the smallest figures, which were the Legends figures, and Legends scale figures which now has become which were discontinued in the main line a couple years ago, and now they've just introduced something approximately the same scale called Core Class.
Yeah.
But what's interesting that happened with Legend Scale is it was discontinued by Hasbro, but it's become, as you know well, as we talk about a lot, it's become a huge sector, a huge segment of third party that has overtaken to a large extent third party masterpiece collecting.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now the third party game, the third party Transformer characters that are coming out these days, the vast majority of them are Legend Scale, but Legend Scale is something that started with Hasbro, and then Hasbro discontinued, third party ran with it, and now there's the Core Class that has been reintroduced by Hasbro. So a good question is, why did Hasbro discontinue it in the first place? And why did they reintroduce it now?
Yeah. Their ways are mysterious to me. If there's an official answer, I'm not sure.
I'll throw out a theory. A theory is, you know how everybody's talking about they're trying to, raise the prices, so that price scale that we just talked about, the Deluxe, Voyager, Leader, those prices for each one have been has been going higher and higher, and at the same time, the Leader class figures have stopped being necessarily bigger than the Voyager figures. So it used to be the case, you buy a Leader figure, you're getting a big figure. But now what they started doing is giving you like an average size figure, Voyager size figure, and then some accessories. You get like the worst was that Shockwave, right? Do you have that Shockwave there? All the extra arms and legs, and then for some reason it's a $50 figure when.
Yeah. I do not own him anymore. However, the last review I just posted was of him, but it's an older review, so.
He looked really good, but I just couldn't. I'm like, nah, man, I'm not paying $50
Yeah.
for this little tiny figure. That's
what I said. I was like, get it on clearance or something, because he's real nice, but he's not like $70. That's what it is in Canadian for a Leader.
It's not
Canadian. Yeah.
You can't justify it. Like, it's just too close to like what you expect to pay for a masterpiece, at least back in the day.
I will say one of the reasons I made this guy like number one is he's an old-fashioned large Leader. He does feel like he's worth the Leader price point.
He looks good. Good.
He's bigger than like Shockwave or Optimus or whatever was. So he does feel like worth the price with his mass.
Yeah. And like, who else would have like? You remember? So, did you ever review that the Rodimus Prime, the Power of the Primes, Rodimus Prime, who transforms both into a little hot rod figure and then a giant Rodimus?
It was a little before my time, but I did own him. But this was before I was doing reviews.
Okay, what did you think of that? What did you think of that figure? He's kind of controversial. Some people really like it, some people don't. I thought he was awesome.
I see. I wasn't a big fan of him, and this is coming from the hot rod guy. So like,
well, maybe that's why. Maybe that's why, because the hot rod figure itself was not perfect.
Yeah,
is that why?
Yeah, that and just like the whole thing was kind of. Like I didn't like the combined mode. I thought it was this like big boxy mess of stuff, and it was kind of messy looking. It just didn't feel good, and it didn't look good.
Yeah. We're gonna have to have a debate about that. What did you think of that? So Spin, you don't know the figure we mean?
I think I did see it like maybe a few years ago, so I kind of have a general idea of it.
I'm gonna fight Anthony on this for a couple minutes. Can you do me a favor and see if you can pull up some images of two figures? I want one is the Power of the Primes, Rodimus Prime / Hot Rod, and the other is Power of the Primes Optimus Prime. Is that right, Anthony? That's the Optimus that has the Orion Pax.
Yeah.
Who then turns into Optimus.
Yeah. Funny thing, I don't own that. I own the Star Convoy version of him that they did later.
Star Convoy. Okay, and what is that?
It's a retool of that one.
Right, but like, what characters does it turn into? Does it still have Orion Pax?
Yeah, it's an Optimus that evolves into Star Convoy. So they like Russian dolled it sort of.
Yeah. So it's basically Power Master Prime, in other words.
Yeah, it works the same way. I can go.
That
grab.
sounds cool.
He's on
Yeah.
the
You
top
have it.
shelf.
You have it. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get the Rodimus actually.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find the Optimus too.
Yeah, here he is.
That's a good figure.
Yeah, he's nice looking. He's a little bit like janky, but it's because Legends Takara retools tended to kind of be like that.
All right, stop talking about this guy right now because I gotta go to the bathroom and then get some toys. You and Steve talk about something else.
Not this. I gotta put him away.
You gotta hold on because if you're gonna criticize him, I'm gonna ask you questions about it. Spin, talk to this guy for a few minutes to entertain our guys. I know I just told you to look for those pictures, but I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Or Anthony, why don't you do an advertisement for whatever it is we have to promote?
Okay. I write reviews on Children of Primus, which is our site for classified ads where you post your figures that you want to sell. It's all Transformers. It's like, what if Craigslist or Kijiji or something existed? It was just Transformers dedicated. We got them sorted by category and everything. And over in our news and reviews section, I post Transformers reviews twice a week, Mondays and Fridays. The Friday ones, like the Shockwave one I was just referencing, are older ones that I've dug up and started to look at as we see how things were back then. And the Monday ones are brand new content. Though sometimes I'll still look at old figures because I consider them to be interesting. Give you a sneak peek. The reason I talked about Siege Shockwave on Friday is because on Monday I'm looking at the opposite value version of him, Cyber Battalion Shockwave. And this is an interesting figure with an interesting history behind him. The whole Cyber Battalion series was like that. In that this guy costs as much as a deluxe, but he's big. He's like Voyager sized. And they managed to do that by making him extremely hollow and have limited articulation. But you know what? He looks really nice and he looks good on a shelf. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to be taking a look at this guy tomorrow. Just gotta add some captions to the photos as I do. I always save that to the last minute. Yes. There's something about the process. And you know what? I just got this guy, so I'll give you a preview of what's coming in a couple and Friday after that. I don't know. I mean, not the Friday, because the Friday is the old stuff. I don't know what I'm putting up there. I just got Studio Series B127 from the Bumblebee movie. This is his Cybertronian form from the big sequence at the start that everyone loves. Mm-hmm. And it's a retool of the Cliff Jumper they already put out. So haven't had much time to mess around with this guy. What will I think? Find out next Monday on childrenofprimus.com. And while you're there, post your classified ads.
Well, it's funny looking at Bumblebee. From the camera point of view, his chest kind of has a face to it.
Yeah, a little bit. He's got the two eyes and the mouth. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Cliff Jumper was the same. Like I'll grab him for comparison because he's a
okay.
Yeah, it's just a Cliff Jumper with a new head. These left and right on this always messes me up. The way it's mirrored.
Wow. I like. It's funny.
Yeah. Because it was like this in the movie too, right? Cliff Jumper's character model was just Bumblebee with a new head. So when they did a Cliff Jumper, they were like, let's give him a new head and put out Bumblebee because that's what they did in the movie.
Yeah. Keep it simple.
Yeah. This is a little, I mean, just because there's so few characters and just because I really liked the movie, this is another thing that I try to go like somewhat completist on. I've been trying to get all the Bumblebee stuff as it comes out. Though I'm missing Blitzwing. I never got a shot at him while he was in Canada. So if you have one, post it on Children of Primus, and I will buy it.
So someone out there will have one that they must want to sell.
Yeah. Studio Series Voyager Blitzwing passed me by. Came out a while ago. Never really showed up locally.
All right, let me see if I can share my screen for. There we go for Rodimus.
Oh, for Rodimus, yeah. Like I said, that was a little bit before I started writing reviews, because I started very shortly before Siege began. Oh, hey, there you go. Yeah, that's it's not the most flattering picture, but that is his robot mode next to the armor that he combines with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I see.
Yeah. Because the idea conceptually is like you got a deluxe sized hot rod figure, vehicle robot, and then he's got that armor, and you can make the Rodimus Prime vehicle mode with it, by attaching it to the back, and then you can also combine him with it like Power Master Optimus style to make a Rodimus Prime robot mode.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much if we're going to talk more about him, but I thought it was just a great idea that they didn't execute very well, and that's about it,
Right.
Yeah, and I always come back to him. Where is he here? I always come back to Studio Series Hot Rod, but they really did finally perfect it with this version, right? And they're making a Rodimus Prime. It's not out yet. It's a big commander. Gonna try and grab that when it comes out. To handle the other half of that equation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, this one here, if they want to make a third masterpiece, blow this up, use the same engineering, and just, make it masterpiece scale, and we'd be there, I swear,
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, it was...
Of course, he's talking about what I told him not to.
Hey, Studio Series. Studio Series.
That's Studio? Oh, you had... Okay. Yeah, the one you were showing a Studio Series. But Spin is showing the Power of the Primes, right?
Yeah, he was just trying to test out if he could show an image, and the answer is he could.
Nice. Well, that's good. Now, can you what I would like you to try? Oh, you don't have the original Rodimus.
The original Hot Rod?
The POP one.
No, I don't have it. I did. I sold it, but I had it for a while, so I have memories of that. Like I said, the one that I have is
that's totally irrelevant to the thing I wanted to ask you, which was to transform up your fancy 86 movie Hot Rod and see if you could fit him into the bulky the bulky Power of the Primes one. Yeah.
That'd be an interesting assignment.
This guy right here.
I don't think so. Yeah. Oh, you got him here?
You put all that work into your crap, or what was his name?
Cluck. Yeah.
Cluck. Yeah, Cluctimus Prime. Yeah.
As in, what the cluck was that?
What the cluck? Yeah. So I mean, if you could do all that, I don't see why you couldn't get the Studio Series into this armor. Maybe.
Now, it's been a while, but if I remember correctly, the Rodimus Prime head was inside the Hot Rod figure. I might be wrong.
Well, I don't see it here. Are these arms? Yeah, okay, good. The arms are supposed to come off.
Yeah. You can see right there. There's the demonstration.
That's helpful. Okay, now tell us why. Good thing this isn't one of your reviews because I'd have to pan it. But tell us what your criticism was of this figure. Now, so Spin, you see the idea, right? So it's got a Hot Rod figure, which that Hot Rod looks pretty good. If you're just looking at a picture that size compared to the one, Anthony held up, given how crappy Anthony's camera is, he refuses to, buy a new camera. They look comparable. When you have them in hand, of course, the 86 series one is far superior. it's far more, and mainly not just because of aesthetics, but because of the articulation. This guy leaves a little bit to be desired. But can you pull up a picture of his combined form?
Let's see.
Yeah.
So Anthony, while Spin's doing that, Anthony, you're going to give your best argument for why this figure with a relatively good hot rod, like that hot rod there is not garbage, and the fact that you can disagree if you want. I'm laying out the debate. I'm going to give you a chance to give your best argument, then I'm going to crush you. So when this guy, right, which is the same sort of idea of the figure you're holding up there, but we're talking about the hot rod version.
Yeah.
Why, when you have a hot rod figure, which is cool, yeah, okay, there you go, that guy. You have a hot rod figure, which is cool. He combines into like a big Rodimus Prime, which, you got this gimmick, and it's fairly articulated, and that's a lot of plastic. That's not, this is a leader class figure, right?
Yeah.
So this, you're paying $50 or $70, and you are legitimately getting, you're getting two alt modes, right? He does both the hot rod alt mode and the Rodimus Prime alt mode, and you have two bots, and they're not like, you remember, I don't know if you know. So here's this is MP09.
Ooh.
And beautiful. This is a beautiful figure, beautiful sculpt. There's a lot of people had issues with the build quality, but this is a gorgeous, like talk about tune accurate, right?
Yeah.
They nailed the tune accuracy on this guy, right?
Yeah.
But this guy, like they sold him as, and he does have the two modes. He does. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I'm criticizing, is so the two modes he does well is the two alt modes, right? He turns into the hot rod car that's perfect, and then he turns into the and then he's got his full cap, and he turns into the Rodimus Prime mode. No problem. But what you were just alluding to, the alt mode, the bot mode, where he has both a hot rod mode and a Rodimus Prime mode, that was pretty cheap. Like, I don't know, you extend his like legs a tiny bit, and then you like swap out the face, or you change some little thing about his face. Basically, the figure was the same.
Ooh, that's
right?
a good comparison.
Yeah, that's perfect, right? So there you go. Now let's see if anybody here happens to have their G1.
Well, I have G1 Hot Rod. I don't have G1 Rodimus Prime.
Well, together, we've got them both.
Yeah.
So there you go. So basically, but anyway, we're talking about this Power of the Primes figure. You're giving your argument for why you sold it. Because to me, I think Power of the Primes is not a well-reviewed series. I was not in on Power of the Primes at all. I started collecting, I'm an MP guy, but I started getting into mainline with Siege because of Hound. I picked up that Hound, and I was like, yo, this is a nice figure. But, those Power of the Primes Dinobots are garbage. But relatively speaking, if you were buying Power of the Primes, why did you not like this character? Inquiring minds want to know. Over to you.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was a good idea, first of all. I just thought it was a lousy execution of the idea. Like, the hot rod was okay. Like you said, it wasn't necessarily the best. I wasn't fond of how a lot of it was like foil stickers that were pre-applied instead of like regular paint apps. But I thought the Rodimus Prime mode, it was like the death of 1,000 cuts.
Pre-applied foil stickers right here.
Oh yeah, but like two things. First of all, like we're well beyond that era design wise, and second of all, I prefer being able to apply them myself so that there's no chance they'll come out messed up out of the factory.
Let me tell you what's funny. About you saying that. Yeah. I agree. But I hear a lot of people on forums complaining about stickers precisely because they don't want to be responsible for putting them on and then messing them up.
Well, it's like who passes the buck? You want to rely on the factory putting them on wrong, or do you want to if there's a problem, it's by your own hand, you know?
Well, I guess
that's exactly what I would say to the absurdity of you saying you'd rather have a child's you'd rather have a baby version of this Beast Wars Megatron than a real man's version, because you don't want to take the time to learn how to be, you know, somewhat mechanically inclined as all real men should be. MP, motherfucker, MP.
Yeah, it's for me. It's the well, okay. I don't want to relitigate that right now. I'm here to talk about Rodimus Prime.
Yep.
Yeah, story strong boy.
Calm down. Okay, Rodimus Prime.
Yeah. So, Death of a Thousand Cuts. First of all, I just don't think it looks very good. I think it looks messy. Second of all, a lot of the articulation on him is very weird. Like, you'll notice that his shoulders are actually his legs doing the splits.
Those are the worst. The shoulders.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you try and like raise them or whatever, you realize that they're jointed right beside his neck instead of where his actual shoulders are, so they do not look good. I just don't like how he has
the legs are good.
Yeah, that's true. But like his whole upper torso is like kind of a wash, and he's got a lot of panels hanging off him. He's got a lot of his backpack's like a huge mess of just like stuff. Like it's like a cage without a form in the middle. Still got the problem with the stickers. You know, you can see his other mode's fists right there. Like, the thing I want to emphasize is it was a great idea on paper. I just don't think it came out executed well. It didn't feel good and it didn't look good, you know?
I can see the point. You win the debate. What about the Orion Pax Optimus Prime though?
Yeah.
Why would you sell that? Are you crazy?
I didn't. I just never had it back in the day.
Okay, yeah. You got this guy. And
I got the Star Convoy version.
You have some pieces that are loose on him?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's sort of par for course. Every time Takara did this thing where they would like I'm looking at Hot Rod. Yeah. Every time Takara
Spin, do you have the see if you can find the Power of the Prime's Orion Pax?
Yeah.
So it's the same concept. So let me tell you.
Same figure, just with parts changed. Yeah.
Look at that. So now let me talk about this.
Yeah.
Oh no. Well, okay. So I'm going to talk. So we'll move to this guy next. Go ahead and talk about your Star Convoy there.
Yeah. Every time Takara heavily retooled something for its exclusives, like Star Convoy or like the Seacons or anything, they'd always be kind of messy because they were never really meant to be those things. And so you'd end up with like stuff on him that was a little wobbly and a little janky. Like this guy's got loose ankles and the star on his chest likes to come out. But like, those aren't flaws that I fault the original for, because those are all thanks to the retool parts, you know?
Yeah. Now you're referring to like all three of these as basically the same character, the same mold.
Well, Hot Rod's not the same mold, but
okay. You were saying that the Optimus Prime and the Star Convoy are.
Yeah. It's a retool. They changed like the face, the chest, the legs, and the inner robot's very different. In fact, I might pop it out to show it off because it's
yeah. Let's look at that. Let's look at that Optimus.
Oh, you might want to give me a minute. I gotta.
Okay. So go, Spin. Throw on the image. Let me talk about Orion Pax here. Now, let me tell you guys about this figure.
Mm-hmm.
This figure. Okay, you didn't say that you sold it. This figure is awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe the only weakness with this is among the closest that mainline ever got to MP. This is a good example of mainline approaching MP. First of all, Spin, if it's not obvious to you, you got the Orion Pax figure, which is approximately the same height as a regular Masterpiece Carbot. So you can put that Orion Pax in a display, which I have done in my Masterpiece display. Now, if you pick them up, if you look on the side, you see all the hollowness. You pick it up, you realize it weighs as much as a handful of peanuts. But if you just put them on the shelf there, the sculpt, that looks like a tune accurate Orion Pax, and and not in a simplistic way, like in a nicely sculpted, nice detail. That's a really nice looking Orion Pax. And then, although the articulation again of that small figure and the feel of that small figure is not great, you transform him up and you stick him in the chest of that Optimus Prime armor, which turns into and okay, I'll get to the alt mode after. So you transform this guy into the chest and the head of Optimus Prime, and then you have a nearly MP scaled Optimus Prime. Once he's in there, it's like a couple millimeters shorter than MP10. So if you didn't have MP10, you could put that Optimus Prime. So both the Orion Pax and the Optimus Prime scale with Masterpiece. And I told you the feeling of the Orion Pax is not great. It feels like a cheap light transformer, cheap toy. But the Optimus Prime, those joints, those arms, those legs, they are pretty good joints. They have nice tolerances. It actually feels like a quality figure. I wouldn't trade my MP10 for it, but it's like a really nice toy. Now the one drawback, the worst thing about it is that almost kills it for me. Could be a deal breaker. Is when it transforms into truck mode. So with the Rodimus Prime that we just discussed, the alt modes looked very nice. They looked very accurate, and the compromise, as Anthony, I forfeited the debate because Anthony nailed it. Is that the compromises were in that bot mode of that big Rodimus Prime, and those arms, they just weren't satisfying to play with. This guy, he is satisfying to play with in that robot mode, which is ultimately what you want. However, when you transform into Optimus Prime truck mode, they did a totally passable job with the armor, which turns into the Optimus Prime trailer. But this little Orion Pax, the front of it turns into a passable Optimus Prime truck, and then the back of it is a fucking disaster.
Oh yeah, they didn't fix that on Star Convoy. It's still a mess.
So that's sort of, if there is going to be a deal breaker, that's where they messed it up, is the back half of the truck. I don't know if you can see that clear enough, Spin. If you just look at the front face, it's cool. But if you look at the side or the back of the cab, that's what I mean to say, the cab, it's a disaster. I thought for a long time I would just like maybe 3D print a piece and just click it on the back there. You just need a box to enclose it.
Yeah, I got the core robot of this guy out here. If you want to have a look.
Yeah, let's have a look.
So it's interesting what they did here, because it's now a toy accurate Optimus Prime in the middle. You can even see if you get close to his face. He got the yellow eyes. He's got the three little things on the sides of his mouth plate.
How's the articulation? He looks. Let me take a guess. You'll tell us. But that looks to me like, when you say toy accurate, there's two things I want to say before you tell us what it's really like. Immediately, Spin, I bet you'll feel the same way. It is very reminiscent. It'll give you the nostalgia if you had a Power Master Prime, which Spin did. So it does look like not just G1 Prime, but specifically the original Power Master Prime.
Yeah.
And also, but what sucked about the original Power Master Prime is the articulation. And this guy that you have here looks like a better sculpt, like more detail, and he looks like he's better articulated than the original Power Master Prime. Maybe even better than the G1 Prime that you're holding there.
Oh yeah, like
so I said that that hot rod, and even the Orion Pax left a little bit to be desired with the feel of that robot. But tell me if this guy's better, because that's my guess.
I will say it's all surface detailing from Orion Pax that they changed. So he has the same kind of posability, same kind of hand feel. So it's just a visual upgrade.
Okay.
Like they changed his head, his chest, this area.
Well, I wouldn't say that as a visual upgrade, because the Orion Pax, can't be visually upgraded. He looks perfect.
Yeah, but this is an interesting thematic thing, because he's now a tiny Optimus that evolves into a giant Optimus.
Well, that's Power Master Prime. Like that's what it is.
Yeah, and so they did that for Star Convoy.
Okay, but you're saying that figure doesn't feel any better. It still feels like a cheap toy.
Yeah, no, it still has that Prime Wars plastic, as I call it in my reviews. And it just highlights how they fixed it when Siege came along. I don't know if they changed the mix in the big vats or they changed the engineering, but like starting with Siege, they just completely changed how these guys felt.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good point. You don't think that it's just that the plastic is thicker?
That might be it, but like that might be something to that. But I do think it's just a matter of like what it's made out of, because I'm like
glossy, cheap, as opposed to
it's glossy and shiny,
a little bit
and
more matte.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was trying to get at. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's a different material or a different mixture or something, but like, they solved it. They changed it completely, and like a Siege figure feels way different. Like, compare. This is the Netflix guy, and compare him to this, and just notice this guy's like shiny. No, sorry, this one. The mirroring always messes me up. This guy's got like the shiny gray thighs.
Until you get a better camera, this what you're doing right here is pointless. But let me ask you this: do you have Combiner Wars Bruticus?
No. The only combiner I got is Victorion. It's a space thing mostly.
How's the plastic on that? Same Power of the Prime's garbage.
Prime Wars, which is Combiner Wars, Titans Return, Power of the Primes. They all had the same like materials, so they all kind of felt the same way.
But I was going to ask you to pull up if you had the Bruticus. I was going to mention a couple of the figures because some of them feel good. I had the. I don't recommend any of these figures, but the Swindle was actually really good. I got that Bruticus collection, and then I wish I didn't because the Bruticus is garbage, and most of the figures are trash.
Is it the G2 or the G1 one?
It's of course. Who are you talking to? I'm a G1er, son.
Damn, I love the crazy paintball.
Well, you can just spray
it. Which version of Bruticus?
Combiner Wars.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a G2 repaint later, and I love that color scheme. So that's what I was talking about.
What's interesting is that the Swindle figure in that set kind of looks and feels. The articulation is good. The feel of it is more solid, and it kind of is. It almost feels that one out of the set almost feels like Siege. Yeah. I don't know why that is, but they fluked that one off, and because I happened to get that, then I was like, oh, this is good, and then I bought the rest of them, and I'm like, this is trash.
Yeah, I don't have any of these guys out anymore, but I used to have a couple of other Combiner Wars guys. It was the same thing. Yeah, outside of Victorian, I wasn't big into Combiner Wars because I didn't really have the space to complete any of them, so I didn't really go in on it.
So, and why did you pick Victorionics or whatever her name is?
Victorion, couple reasons. I just wanted one combiner. I thought she was interesting. And also she was a present from Jess. So.
Oh well, there you go.
Yeah.
That always makes it that much better.
Yeah, and I was like, if I'm going to sample this line, having just one and it being this one is not a bad way to do it. That was my thinking.
Sure. Fair enough. Okay, so why don't we? I think maybe one last question related to wrapping up Kingdom. I'll ask you guys, and then maybe we should sort of wind down. So the question that is on my mind, after talking about it, thinking about it, watching it, I wonder if, and thinking about what that criticism is. Now, I don't know how broad the criticism is that it was too jumbled and too many plot lines. That's the one article that I saw that I put in our chat. But and then I made the joke about homaging G1, but also like that is of the many flaws of the Michael Bay movies. That is the worst flaw, right? Like the worst flaw, like you could, whether you like the Transformer designs or not, whatever. And like the biggest problem is that aside from the 2007 movie, which had a discernible plot, the other films just progressively got worse and worse to the point where they really are just like a hodgepodge of just a collage of random scenes that really make no sense at all. A bunch of plot threads that don't tie in together, don't tie up at the end. It's like a dream. Like, when you have an elaborate dream, it's like these different threads, different things that are happening. You know what? Probably Michael Bay just does a lot of psychedelics.
He seems the type to enjoy his nose candy.
Yeah.
But he probably mixes it with psychedelics, though. Like a nose candy, that's Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
But I think he's probably dropping a lot of LSD along with it. That could explain a lot.
Just over here continuing to love the Bumblebee movie for being normal.
Yeah, exactly, because he was out of there. Okay, so that's the same kind of like not making sense is what I was worried based on seeing that article that this was going to be like. So, but I didn't find that to be like this. This to be like that. Now but when I have heard that kind of criticism and then I didn't agree, is with, for instance, the first and second Tom Cruise Mission Impossible. So here's a phenomena: when the plot is too complicated or there's many plot dimensions, then sometimes people say, oh yeah, well the thing didn't make sense, but it's really just they didn't get it and weren't able to follow it. So my question is, do you think that maybe the reason people are misreading it is because for some folks this actually might have been too cerebral? It actually might have been a little bit too conceptual, as opposed to what some people are looking for, which is a blast, shoot 'em up, more explosions. How come there's not enough blowing things up and fighting?
Yeah, well, there might be something.
Do you think that's the reason or no?
I think there might be something to that. A general criticism of all three of them, and that includes Kingdom, was that they were almost too self-serious and a little bit too in love with having these big, long monologues about stuff. And I think
wait, hold on. Are you sure you look at the other people on the screen right now?
Mm-hmm.
You sure you want to make that kind of a criticism? Look at how serious this guy takes himself. And the other guy who has a lot of motherfucking monologues.
Yeah. I ain't saying there. Yeah.
Luckily, we can laugh at these guys, but watch out for Nemesis, Spinister.
Mm-hmm.
Continue, Anthony.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to guess, because I haven't read much criticism myself, right? Because I don't like reading criticism before going in because I want to have my own opinions, right? I mean, but just saying, but let me put it this way. I'm not saying, imagine, tell me what they wrote, even though you didn't read it. What I'm saying is you liked this thing. Yes.
There's other people who didn't like it.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because you like cerebral shit? Do you find this cerebral, or do you think no, this wasn't all that cerebral? It's probably not that kind of thing.
I mean, I agree. I did think it was a little. I enjoyed it in spite of how cerebral it could get. So if other people weren't able to get over that, then perhaps that is why they were very critical of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it did take itself extremely seriously, and
Maybe this one less so than the other two.
Yeah, that's the impression I got. But like they didn't totally get rid of the general feel of the whole trilogy. So if you already weren't on board, then for some people, perhaps the improvements to this were not enough to overcome the things that had been there from day one, which was like the serious tone and the slow voice acting and the specific style of the thing in general.
And I love, and it's too, and it's too bad because like I love that kind of thing, but it was just that aspect of it was done so poorly.
Yeah,
it ended up being one of the worst things about the series, even though in general that's the kind of fiction Spin and I are really into.
Yeah, and it's like just like I said about Rodimus Prime there, good idea, execution left something to be desired, right?
Yeah. To say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Spin, you want to add anything?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where if all of us are in agreement, that it's just kind of rehashing the same thing. But it is funny when it comes to the cerebral or the multi-dimensional stories that could be told within a story, and many times I've said like say with a Michael Bay movie, a lot of times he has problems just like running with like 1.5 plots. It's like the original Transformers movie from '86 had I think at least 6 or 7 subplots happening within the main plot. All these other movies have a problem just telling one plot, much less. So that when they start trying to create little subplots, they can't do it. But with this, I did find like there was, if someone isn't able to understand the multi-dimensions within a storyline, and I've seen that in many shows where people will say, well, I just didn't get it. And I'm like, but I found it perfectly fine. Like the entire concept made sense, especially if you're telling it from the different characters' perspectives, throwing in different timelines within those perspectives.
Right.
It's building the story within the story as opposed to the other way of like, well, now we've thrown these characters at you. Now we have to create this whole other timeline backlog story of of how we build these characters. But in this sense, they're doing it all in the same time. So you're seeing real time what's happening with the characters while you're learning, their past at the same time. So honestly, yeah, in terms of that, I didn't see any issues or problems following how it was presented, within the episodes, because I think it's like 5 or 6
of them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Like I just watched it straight through. But I mean, I was able to stay on board for the entire thing.
Sure.
And I mean, and one thing I like that I did have an issue with initially when they first started was like, well, how does the G1 and the Beast Wars, how does the timeline or how does the stories, combine? The fact that of like
something you were worried that they weren't going to do well.
Yeah, they did it properly. And I mean, just like even earlier when you're speaking in terms of Dinobot, where it's like really his storyline takes at least 2 seasons to explain, whereas like here they explained it within like 1 or 2 episodes. But I mean, overall, the whole thing was like that. Because I'm watching it, and all of a sudden, like Ultra Magnus shows up. Then there's a hint of Unicron, and I'm like, they're basically taking like 3 or 4 years of G1 and putting them into like 2 or 3 episodes. And I'm like, how are they doing that? And now there's Beast Wars, and it's like, so now you're taking 15 years of storylines and throwing it in within like the 5th episode. So that's really convoluted, but they pulled it off.
Yeah, it wasn't bad given the constraints, right? Like obviously, if it was a 30 episode season,
right?
Like some shows are, then they could have developed it a lot more. But let me ask this: I was a little unsure about this myself. Remember when Megatron was having his dreams or the flashbacks that maybe it was the spark that was trying to throw him off the path. or maybe it was the Matrix, because at one point he pulled the Matrix off his chest. But when he's having these dreams where he sort of falls into a void, and he's holding a head, is that Optimus Prime's head or is that Ultra Magnus's head?
Magnus.
It's Magnus, right? Okay.
Yeah. So I think it was
he had his head from before.
I think it was the Matrix that was playing with his mind, because it gave him those visions of falling, and then eventually when he when he thought he won everything, he ends up falling. Which, strangely enough, I thought at that point he was actually destroyed. I didn't think. I was surprised to see him in like the next scene after.
So Prime like gave him the Matrix. He said, "Okay, I surrender. Take it."
Yeah, because Alita was like, in order to win the fight, stop fighting. So just give him whatever he wants.
Now, I don't know how deep you guys want to go into. Like, I was gonna do a whole thing. I think maybe eventually I will. If we do the Skids Lab thing, Fear or Courage, would you mind muting your microphone? Because I'm hearing you transform the figure. Thank you.
It's me.
So, you're transforming a figure? Okay. Oh, touche. All right. Well, let me get a figure then. That's the way we're doing things.
I mean, you can't have a show talking about Transformers and not be sitting there transforming one. Nice.
Look at this guy. Very nice figure. This is Mechanic Studios Legends class.
Oof. All you gotta do is show me a Hot Rod or a Rodimus, and I'm like, yes, go on.
Yeah, no, this is a nice little guy, and he's got the whole trailer that actually turns into the homage to the G1 trailer.
Nice.
So anyway, what was I talking about?
You don't know how far you're gonna go into it. Skids Lab.
Wait. No, it was
Alita 1.
Alita 1 saying, so like, to win, you have to lose, right? This is Taoist philosophy. This is, the most ancient mystical writings. Do you remember in an earlier episode, I was trying to remember a particular episode and I had mixed up the characters, but it was, Anthony, you pointed out to me, it was Rodimus Prime who was in some kind of martial artist dojo, and they were advising him on expecting nothing, right? This is Taoist philosophy, right? So it's just pretty, of course, all these stories, these epic stories we watch are all drawn from the ancient epic stories, right? Whether it's Star Wars or whatever else.
And it's funny when I saw that, I'm like, wait a second, that's the same Marvel reference where Thanos is like, in order for the Avengers to win, they have to lose everything. Right.
Anyway, I just thought that was cool. I'm not gonna go into a big thing about it now, but this is what I mean by this kind of thing that we find like as a satisfying story element.
Yeah.
I think maybe there's other people in the fandom who might be like, whatever. I wanted to see another, like they want to see a Megatron and Optimus blow each other up thing. Oh, that reminds me of another thing I didn't like about the way Megatron was portrayed in this series. But all right, Anthony, I know it's Anthony. Anthony, can you please mute your mic? I'm not talking. Nice. It's good. Just mute your mic and then we switch. This keeps throwing me off. Yeah, anyway, so like they might not appreciate that. But so what happened? So he gave him the Matrix. I thought when he said, there was it you or was it somebody we were talking about? Somebody said, oh, he's a spoiler, Optimus Prime is going to die. He didn't end up dying, but I thought that's where he was going to die. When it said you have to give up, Alita was telling him that, I was like, oh, here we go. It's now you Alpha Trion has to sacrifice himself to merge with Vector Sigma.
Actually, I was
in season 2, and then in season 3, now Optimus Prime has to come back, and then he has to merge with the Matrix while Rodimus Prime watches. They just fucking rehash that. I'm like, okay, now we're gonna do the same thing here, but they didn't. So
well, it was funny with my spoiler alert. It was really just a joke. It's just the fact that of like every single time you see Optimus, he has to die. You know, and it's almost like, well, what happens at the end of the Titanic movie? Is there a sequel to it? Like, well, we know what happens at the end. So I really wasn't expecting him to die, but I mean, if it did, you know, ooh.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. I didn't, you know, I kind of wondered if like, oh, you were just saying that, but I also was but I also considered like, oh, maybe you had read that somewhere, you had heard a spoiler, and you're passing it on to me. So because I wasn't, so that made it more fun for me, because then something happened that I wasn't expecting, right? But anyway, he gave Megatron the Matrix. Megatron runs into the doorway, the doorway,
the Allspark chamber or whatever.
Yes. The Allspark chamber, right? And then it spits him out.
Well, it's funny because it did the Allspark did the exact same thing to him in the beginning of he walks into the room and everyone's cheering him. So in his mind, you know, he thinks he's won everything. So the Allspark is feeding him what he thinks. You know, and then it quickly it changed into like, well, no, you actually lost. Hole. Yeah, so it was a black hole. So I honestly thought I thought Megatron died at that one spot.
Yeah, or got sent to the dead universe.
Right.
You know, some alternate dimension. That's sort of what it looked like.
The Shadow Realm.
Yeah, that is kind of weird that there wasn't any serious consequence there. For him, I think it would have made more sense if he ends up in the upside down place.
Well, I mean, it's funny. Which is it? One of the earlier trilogies where Optimus dies. I can't remember if it was a Combiner Wars, and then it's like near the end. Optimus just casually walks out of the ground like nothing happened.
I don't know which one that is.
Yeah, me neither.
Which one is it? I believe it's a combine. Yeah, I think it is the Combiner Boars where with Megatronus. Oh, it's really funny because they end up killing Optimus halfway through. But then near the end, Megatron actually sacrifices his life for everyone to win whatever the situation was. And then Optimus just kind of like, you know, casually is alive again.
This is the series that has Windblade in it?
Yes. Yeah, because Victorion's in it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. It's Combiner Wars, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, we'll talk more in future episodes about Kingdom. We'll have more to say about it. Oh, I wanted to say but let's go around, you know, the last thing you want to say about it. The other goofy thing that I just alluded to, that I didn't like about the show, aside, and it kind of fits in the category of like, you know, the beasts roaring while other people are shooting lasers, is how many times it's almost like, I don't want to say it because, you know, like if you didn't notice it and then now you notice it, it makes the whole thing like drops it by 1 point. Like if you rated it at 7, you're gonna have to go to 6 now. But every fucking single time in these 6 episodes, when Megatron was going to shoot somebody, he holds up his fusion cannon, he starts charging the fusion cannon and talking, and then somebody shoots him and he falls over. Like he never fucking gets a shot off with that fusion cannon. Like, what the hell, dude?
It's one of the classic blunders.
One time,
now you have to watch it again.
Every single time. It was so, I'm like, not again.
Take a shot every time. Take a shot every time he doesn't get to take a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's supposed to be like a character developing moment. Like, so in the last scene in the last episode, where Galvatron is like saying, well, it's going to have to be like this. And Optimus is like, nope, we're going to have to do it this way. And then even the Decepticons and the Maximals and the Predacons, like they're all together. And Galvatron's like, nope, me and Megatron and Nemesis, fuck y'all. And then Megatron's like, no, actually, it's got to be the way Prime said. And he's charging his thing up. And then, he's going to shoot Galvatron, and then Nemesis Prime just shoots him. Like, so then it's not. So then, and now everybody still has to fight. So the beasts can roar some more at the lasers. That part was dumb. So that's my concluding statements. Anything else you guys want to say?
Watch Beast Wars. or read Beast Wars, one or the other.
It would make Kingdom make a lot more sense.
Yeah, I might be able to read it.
Yeah, 6 issues out. I think it's going to get a trade paperback of the first 6 soon. So.
Oh, this is new.
Yeah, this is new.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
This is number 6. Just came out like last week.
Well, do you have a scanner? Why don't you upload it on the Children of Primus? What?
I don't want to get sued.
It's just for the purpose of research, and it's the Patreon subscribers.
Ah. Patreon subscribers get
to help us with research.
Yeah.
They don't get free comics shared peer to peer. What they get is access to the research materials that we are discussing behind a paywall.
Yes. But regardless, my final thought is watch Beast Wars or read Beast Wars if you want a version of this story that was better, even if I didn't think this one was very bad at all.
So, but
those are better.
So is there an original Beast Wars comics, or are these the first ones?
These are the first ones. They didn't have a comic back in the day.
Cool. And who's making these? Is this Dreamwave? Is it IDW?
It's IDW. Yeah, they're the guys that are doing it right now.
Yeah, Dreamwave doesn't exist anymore.
No. They're long gone.
Which was better? Was Dreamwave better, or IDW was always the better one?
Oh, IDW is way better. It's an upward slope. Maybe if Dreamwave was still around, it would be as good as IDW. But IDW has been better for a long time.
All right, Spin. Any concluding stuff?
Let's see, any concluding stuff? Buying and selling of Transformers, childrenofprimus.com, and we have our daily reviews that are uploaded to the website every day, including Monday review and Friday reviews, written by Anthony.
Daily or
sorry?
It's not daily if it's Mondays and Fridays.
Bi-weekly.
No, there's Anthony's reviews.
No, bi-weekly
means there's
weeks.
Yes.
Twice a week.
There's also articles that are uploaded on the website every day. So those are separate from Anthony's.
Yeah.
Who's uploading articles every day?
On the website. The website does it itself.
Magically.
It is by magic.
That's awesome. The magic of RSS?
Yes.
Hey, listen. Have you guys Spin, you didn't watch Masters of the Universe Revelations?
Not yet. I've been hearing a lot about it. Just like everyone else, there's the whole debates and everything. It's on my list.
You guys need
it's on my list.
I've never been a Masters of the Universe guy. You know what a Masters of the Universe I've seen? The Dolph Lundgren movie, nothing else.
Oh, that's the bad one to start with.
No, that's great. That's great because it's all uphill from there.
I had fun. It was like the fun kind of bad. I had a ball watching it, just probably not for the way they intended.
No, exactly. No, when I saw it as a kid, I was disgusted. Like I wanted my money back. I didn't cry when I wasn't one of these motherfuckers who like cry when Prime died. But
it's like the Van Damme version of Street Fighter.
Yeah.
I never watched that. Hey, but I watched Mortal Kombat last night.
Oh, how is it?
It's actually, now I'm watching it with no dog in the fight.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't give a fuck even about the game Mortal Kombat. I played Street Fighter. I was
Same here.
before Mortal
Same
Kombat
here.
came out. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It's our generation, right? So I didn't care, and I'm expecting it to be terrible. And then I watched it, and I'm like, this is pretty good. This isn't terrible.
No,
I liked it.
From the commercials, I mean, the clips that I've seen, I'm like, no, this is really good.
Well, we just have to it's really good for a particular genre and a particular box, right? Like a B- movie, not B movie, a B- movie,
right?
Like with the tropes and terrible acting and whatever, but it's entertaining, right?
Okay.
So I'm bringing that up because you said Van Damme Street Fighter, but which I haven't seen, but also because of that Masters of the Universe film. I watched it again as an adult. I don't know, a couple years ago, and I was like, oh, should I do this? This might be really bad. And then I watched it and I was like, this isn't, it's funny, So I was able to watch it, the way Anthony was able to watch it, without wanting my He-Man to be there.
Right.
And then also, but this is also what's funny. Spin, I wonder if you'll relate. I wonder if you relate to this or not. I don't know. I think really I need to ask Rolati this question. But tell me if you relate. When I was a kid, I was raised, who my heroes were, Mr. T and Conan, i.e. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Right?
Okay.
So when I was 6 years old, a man with muscles looked like Mr. T or Schwarzenegger or He-Man.
Right.
Right? That's what a guy with muscles looks like. So when I saw Dolph Lundgren play He-Man, he didn't look like a big muscular guy to me.
Okay.
I was like, this guy's not He-Man. Come on. You need somebody who looks like Schwarzenegger, or Lou Ferrigno, right? The Incredible Hulk. That's who you need to play He-Man.
Yeah.
But then as an adult, being a man who likes to fancy himself as having some muscles, I've had to adjust my sensibilities about what a man with muscles looks like. So from these eyes, looking at Dolph Lundgren, I was like, okay, that's a big dude.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to arm wrestle that motherfucker. He was actually I was able to. So that's another reason why I could appreciate the Dolph Lundgren He-Man better, a couple years ago than I could as a kid, because with a more realistic idea of what a big strong guy looks like, I was like, no, Dolph was actually big and strong.
Okay, that's a valid point.
Anyway.
This guy's like, fuck, man. I don't know why I mentioned the Dolph Lundgren movie. Now we're talking about strong men. I hate strong men. I just like robots. Revelations is really good. Revelations is good. You gotta watch it.
All right.
On its own, okay, no, to speak to specifically what you said, Anthony. I guess I'll give this spoiler. Standing on its own as a piece of anime and fiction, it's good.
Okay, that's the important thing.
If you don't give a fuck about Masters of the Universe, that series is objectively better than what we just watched.
Okay, see, that's a good review.
Yeah,
Master of the Universe Revelations, objectively better than Kingdom.
It is objectively better. If you don't have an emotional attachment, if you love Optimus Prime, then fuck, this is gonna be. If you love Optimus Primal and anything with Optimus Primal is automatically better than anything without it, okay, then that's different, right? But if you're just okay, I'm gonna watch some cartoons, that that hopefully I can appreciate. Revelations is better written. It makes more sense. There's a lot more to talk about, and we'll get into it on a special episode
on our He-Man channel.
That's right, and we'll have some. I think it might be a special issue of Child of Grayskull, Children of Grayskull. But I do think there might be some naysayers.
I've seen naysayers. Oh, I see what you're saying.
There may be at least one cast member, who's
Well, you never know. You never know.
I do. No, I know because the cast member called me and was all angry. You guys didn't hear about this? So Orlati complained to you about Kingdom. He didn't tell you his that he vomited in his bedroom while watching Masters of the Universe Revelations.
No,
he was that disgusted. Huh? It hasn't happened to you. You've never vomited. You've never vomited while watching. Okay, I may be.
I mean, maybe when I had a stomach bug or something. I don't know.
Usually if something's that bad.
Clearly, Orlati takes his fan fiction more serious than you, Anthony.
You either endure it and yeah, this is bad. Do I watch it to the end? Maybe it gets better, or do I just turn it off and be like, I just, I'll pretend like this never happened. Like, didn't Dolph play Batman at one point?
Yeah,
Kilmer. Sorry, I think even Kilmer pretended that never happened.
That was so bad. That was so bad.
I was gonna say, I almost never turn anything I don't like off because even if it's a crappy story, I always kind of want to know how it's gonna end.
I always used to be like that, and then something happened. I reached a certain age, and all of a sudden, I could stop. I used to not. I would stay up late, watching something that I was like, this is so stupid, and I'm like, this past. I need to sleep, but I have to see how it ends. But then I got to a certain age where I was like, I don't care anymore.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So
we all turn into our parents eventually.
We all become as old as our parents.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Sucks when you don't.
Yeah.
That's a good note to end on. What were you saying about Alpha Trion? Seeing Alpha Trion?
I was surprised.
Oh, you were? Okay. Why?
I was just surprised seeing it. There wasn't. I mean, in a sense,
I was a little disappointed because it wasn't. Then it ended up not being him.
Right. I mean, again, it's playing with his mind. Because really, all the characters you've seen in the entire series, you kind of see those characters. So I was just surprised they made an Alpha Trion reference because there wasn't any reference of that anywhere else.
Yes, so Alpha Trion was in it was in both Siege and Earthrise.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah, but then in this case, it was just the ghost of him. It wasn't really him, but yeah. Yeah, now I want to go back and watch the Skylinks.
The Skylinks. I was good. That was cool. That whole the Skylinks thing and that was one of my favorite parts. I think of the whole trilogy.
Yeah.
Maybe we should end on that. What name one thing? Doesn't have to be your favorite of all time. Just the thing that pops in your mind now. So we can sign off. But what would you say are the highlight moments across the entire trilogy that were your fun moments?
Omega Supreme.
Ooh, that might be my favorite in the whole trilogy. You nailed it. I think maybe that, and then second for me is maybe the Skylinks and Alpha Trion. But yeah, Omega finally coming out. That scene was good.
That Omega was the Omega we wanted back in '85. That was the I'm unstoppable. Huge, he's not gonna just turn into a rocket and crash every other episode. That was Omega Supreme.
Yeah, I like that.
I liked the bit with the our Kingdom. I thought, even though I knew it was coming, they still pulled it off really well.
Which part?
The bit with the robot arc. I mean, where it just like shows up and grabs the ship and same vibe, but like
exactly. I thought that was well done. Spin alluded to it earlier. The only reason why that's a season highlight for me, both because we're anticipating it, we're waiting for it to come. They're trying to redo the arc. We're like, okay, let's see the revelation, right? Is he going to fight Unicron? What's it going to be? But the way that happened was cool. The only reason why it's like not quite up there with me is because it's so similar to the Omega Supreme reveal, right? It's kind of like another version of that. But that being said, it was good.
Yeah, at one point I thought, okay, now they brought the arc transforming. Is the Nemesis gonna transform?
Yeah.
Just something they kept quiet.
That
wouldn't shock me if that's like the next Titan. So we,
that's what so some people are saying, and so the way they do that, they express the enormity of the Titans, and of the Guardians. But even more so with this arc transformation scene is by making the Titanic-sized robots move really slow, and that slowness is a really powerful effect, right? It gives you that perspective of like this thing is so huge and so distant that you can't interact with it in real time, right? You can't like talk to it, from the ground or wave at it, or have a conversation. It's like something on a scale that you are not, even you as a truck,
right?
And so the way they do that, I think is pretty neat.
And I mean it's almost like in a sense of like the only other reference would be like Unicron's hands, or the other references in different trilogies. But yeah, basically the speed that his hand's going, any other character can quickly maneuver through it. But if you get hit by that hand, like you're just shattered. Like the force behind that slow speed it's basically like the Earth moving. It appears slow,
but you wouldn't. But the thing is, you can't maneuver through it though. That's an illusion because it's just like you see an airplane. It looks like it's moving slow, right? But but if you're in the path of the airplane, you can't like jump over it.
Which is funny, because on the ground, it's like you see a car doing 120, and it's like, okay, the car flew past you. This plane is doing at least 400 or 500, But you're watching it slowly, go by, but it's not slow.
Which it just has to do with distance, right? So the same thing is, if the car, you're looking at the car outside the window of a skyscraper or outside the window of your tall building, you're watching that you could track the movement. It doesn't look so fast, but once it's hurtling at you, right? So, or you could watch a comet, you could watch a falling star, right? So similarly, if you could see Unicron moving in the distance, or a Titan, lumbering towards you, looks like it's lumbering, but once that hand is coming towards you, you're dead. You can't move. There's nowhere you're going. It's just boom, you're gone. But just like you trying to squish an ant, like the ant can't fucking run away. It's under your foot. It's under your foot. But like that's part of the reason why, if you think about like in G1 when they drew the Titans in the cartoon, it's part of the reason why they weren't able to make the Titans seem Titanic,
right?
Because they had the robots talking to them, as if you can interact normally with something that is on that massive scale, right? When you're so out of that scale, you can't interact.
And it's and like they're moving almost the same real time as the smaller characters. When that wouldn't happen.
Right. Anyway, our young one is falling asleep here. So I think it's time that we wrap it up. And,
my brain starts shutting down at 11 o'clock.
Fair enough. That Spin and I, it's a gift and a curse. We're programmed to be nocturnal.
Mm-hmm.
It allows us to try to take over the world every night, but also makes it hard to get up in the morning.
Yes.
So, pros and cons. It's why you work a regular job, Anthony, and the two of us do things differently.
Don't. Yeah.
I said do things differently. You don't have to be so, mean about it.
Yeah, that sounded meaner than I intended, and I apologize.
I gotta go play with my toys now. Somebody made fun of us. Okay. So big up Michael Orlotti out there somewhere in the universe. Hope you're feeling better. Hope you get a chance to enjoy the live stream. Any other comments that we want to shout out? Anybody we should shout out real quick?
No other comments, but I was going to say, thank you to Calvin and Theo for passing through.
Word up.
Calvin and Thomas and Thomas for passing through. And any other comments that we'll have once the show is done.
And we'll see you all here next week.
Next week, Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, as usual.
Mm-hmm.
Peace. Applause all around, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for the Three Amigos.
Yes.
The trios of amigos.
And next week will be the Four Horsemen.
Onward.
Onward.
All right, gentlemen. Have a good night. Let's get some pizza.